phone blowing up, they all want the pics, but VIPs know that Track Gabe's the fix. Other shows, static, this one automatic. We're cashing in motion, call it racetrack magic.
Really enjoying the time here. The Jersey Shore.
I've done the Arizona heat, and then I'm a Florida guy, so I've done the Florida heat. I always say that if I had to compare the two, if you're in Florida, you know you're getting ready to pass out. In Arizona, you just pass out, and you just are looking
podcast. Now here's your host, Track Gabe.
All right, and we're back, and look who I got here, Maegan. How are you, Maegan?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on, Gabe. It's nice to be on here.
Oh, it's all my pleasure. Trust me. Trust me. So let's find out more about you. For anybody that wants to learn about what you do and stuff. So tell us a little more about your background and so forth.
So I am I'm an equine massage therapist, licensed and board certified. I'm also a certified independent equine nutrition specialist. So I do a lot of work, with tons of horses, different breeds, different disciplines, but my absolute love is horse racing for sure. I own Iron Faith Thoroughbreds LLC. So we're a tiny little breeding get up here in Washington State. Nothing crazy. You know, we have one breeding mare, breed her maybe once every couple years. And, you know, we have one runner at Emerald Downs, 5-year-old up there. And then we have a new 2-month-old here. I was born end of April, and she's going to be a monster. She is taping about 18 hands. So we will see how she grows up. But yeah, I mean, nothing super crazy. I didn't grow up in horse racing. It wasn't something that I was, born into. It was something I got into, loved horse racing as a little girl. And then, told my parents one day I was going to own a Kentucky Derby winner, and, life happened and I never got into horses, and then moved back to Washington State after living in the Midwest for a little while, and got into racehorses. And so, like I said, we're small, but, we like to think that we do what we need to do. We get where we need to go. So
where in the Midwest were you?
I was in Ohio for 7 years.
Oh, wow. That really is the Midwest.
Yeah. I was up there. Yeah. So I was up there, and, I wouldn't say I was necessarily involved with the, standard breds, but I knew a couple standard bred breeders up there, and 2 of them were trainers. And so got to really kind of stay involved in horse racing in a very different way. But, my love was thoroughbreds. And so when I came home, that's when I decided to get into the thoroughbred industry. So haven't been in it a super long time as far as breeding goes. We got our first breeding female or breeding mare. I want to say December 2017, and then bred her in 2019, and then had our first foal in 2020, and he's the one that's up at Emerald Downs now. So,
and he's raced already.
He has, yeah. So we don't back our horses till 3. We let them grow. We let them play in the fields and do what they do. It's not financially advantageous by any means. But I'm one of these types of people where, nutrition is a big thing to me. Growing is a big thing to me. And it's really kind of what we base a lot of our horses on, and our business on, is kind of doing things a little bit different. So with that being said, we didn't even break him till 3. He was on the track for maybe 60 days. We brought him home, let him grow out, and then we sent him back at 4 and had him train from, February. And then he ran his first race in July of 2024. Oh, I can't hear you. Where'd you go?
Oh, where is he now? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. He's up at Emerald.
Okay. Well, when were you expecting him to run next?
So he's actually been running since, so he went to the trainer in February, and then he ran his first race end of May for this year. So he's been running since I think May 26th was his first race. And then he's run a couple times since, and then he's actually entered for this Friday for tomorrow night. He races tomorrow night.
Wow, and what's his name so we could follow and bet?
Whiskey on the Rocks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whiskey on the Rocks.
Whiskey on the Rocks. Yep. An ode to my husband. We named him Whiskey on the Rocks because my husband's a big whiskey guy and, 180 plus bottle guy. He loves his whiskey, loves all the different kinds. And so I was like, you know what? You have been an absolute saint for this, with this whole thing. So that's why we named him Whiskey on the Rocks.
So your husband's been very supportive with you during this adventure and stuff?
He has. I love the man to death. He's a saint. It hasn't all been easy. I will say we've been very blessed. It's been very straightforward, and we've really hit very little snags. I mean, it's been a lot of learning. It's a big learning curve. When you're not born into this, and this isn't something that you do all the time. All of my livestock experience and stuff like that comes from my mom, whose great aunt used to breed barrel horses in Wisconsin many, many, many years ago. And then I actually was brought up in the alpaca industry. So we had alpacas for over a decade, and I ran that whole program, essentially. And so, that's where a lot of my foundation comes from as far as, genetics and kind of parsing things together and figuring out what program I wanted to do with my horses, stuff like that. So that's where I started. And then had a huge break in livestock. I mean, like I said, I moved to the Midwest, and then when I came back, I was like, let's do horses, might as well. I'm still young. So, I figured I'd always wanted to do it. And you don't know if your dream's going to work if you don't try. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. And you're in your early 20s still, so you've done a lot of stuff in your life for somebody that's only in their early 20s.
I love it, Gabe. You are now my favorite. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean, for somebody who's in their early 20s, you're just so accomplished and so intelligent, and you've been through a lot and seen a lot. And
You're very sweet. Very sweet. I love it. I'll send you your basket later.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to hold you to that. I'm expecting something from Washington to come here. So, okay.
Well, when I see you in Santa Anita, maybe, I'll bring something down as a souvenir from Washington State for you.
Okay. And then I already was going to do that without even telling you, but I'm going to give you tons of Santa Anita gear.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
And it'll be a lot. So, and are you flying over here or driving over here?
We're flying down.
Okay. So I won't give too much.
Yeah.
Just enough to where you could, take it on the plane and so forth. And
that would be great. I appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to, showing you Santa Anita since it's your first time. And then whenever I'm up in Washington, I expect Emerald Downs tour as well.
Absolutely. You. Yeah. I mean, right now, I don't know if many people have seen, but Emerald was really kind of in question as to whether or not they're going to have a 2026 season. So, we'll just kind of see where all that goes. I don't really know any updates on that. But I do know that was a big question, is whether or not, Emerald was going to be around for next year. So I'm really hoping it is. I really love Emerald Downs. I've been going there since I was a kid. And I always told my mom, and my dad. And my dad one day, like, I'm going to have horses here. I'm going to race here. I mean, there's tons of tracks I would love to race at. But Emerald was the one track that I loved going to. And I wanted that to be my home track. And I, like I said, very blessed. We've had that happen. And, now, we'll just kind of see, where to go from here. If Emerald doesn't survive, to next year, and, we kind of play it by ear right now, unfortunately. So
what is the feeling like in the city and the vicinity about that? Is there like a gloom and doom feeling? Is there optimism? What are you feeling?
I think it's just a lot of uncertainty, honestly. I think that's really kind of what gets a lot of people is, we really don't know. And people have their opinions about horse racing who aren't in the racing industry and then who are in the racing industry. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I think those of us who race there and those of us who know people there and, essentially, the racetrack, you kind of become family, your trainers, you become really good with your trainers, the grooms, it's just a big community. And I think it would be a really, really big loss if they closed. So I think right now people are really hoping that doesn't happen. And I think Emerald Downs is trying really hard to make sure that doesn't occur, obviously. But the state, I don't feel, is really helping us as far as the bills are going. And it's kind of getting, it's just getting complicated, really. But we'll see, we'll just kind of see how it goes.
I always say that actually, being at our Del Mar's coming up. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because every weekend, PETA is right there in front of the entrances with their picket signs and saying, showing pictures of horses with broken legs on the racetrack. It's just horrific stuff. Yeah. And then the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I even tell them, I've stopped and talked to them before, and I've told them, do you realize how many people are employed by this industry? Have you been to the backside? Anybody who's been to the backside of any track, these are people you don't see at the track. These are people that are working with the horses 24/7, hot walkers, grooms, assistant trainers, exercise jockeys. The list goes on, and I haven't even mentioned half of it. And, so as you've seen before too, if Emerald Downs goes down, just like any track, that is a lot of livelihoods affected.
It is. And I think, I think there's been really good changes that have been made for the industry. And I think we're making good strides in the right direction. And, I've talked to people too, who are like, horse racing, terrible, boycott it, do whatever. I get it. I understand. But at the same time, Emerald Downs closing will affect breeders, it'll affect owners. I mean, then you've got to figure out, okay, and me as a small breeder,
a domino effect. You're right.
Exactly. And me as a small breeder, I'm not made of millions of dollars. If people sit there and they say, oh, you have racehorses, you have tons of money. No, I am broke because I have racehorses. That's how it works. But, my biggest thing is I, and we could harp on this all day, but I think in the reality, there could be changes made. Absolutely. The industry could use a little bit of an overhaul in some aspects, but I think we've done well in other aspects of improving it. And basically saying, look, we're doing better. Things are changing, and that's great. But I think the biggest thing is people don't understand. It doesn't just shut the whole track down. It can really affect the breeders here in trying to figure out where to send their horses. If Emerald Downs closes, where do I send King's whiskey on the rocks? But that's his barn name is King. It's like, where do I send King? Do I send him to the East Coast? Can I afford to keep him on the East Coast? Do I send him down to Santa Anita? Do I send him down to Del Mar? Where do I go with him as only a 5-year-old, 6-year-old? You know what I'm saying? So, and then I've got another baby who, in my opinion, is very well bred, absolutely stunning. I mean, she's going to be a rock star. I can see it. And it's like, I don't want to have to cut that off at the knees necessarily, because I think come 3 years old, when we go to break her, she's going to be incredible. So then what do we do with her? you know?
Mhm.
There's just a lot of aspects of Emerald Downs closing down that I think people don't think about. And the people who don't like horse racing don't care, but the people who are in it understand. And it's a big thing. It's just a lot of what ifs, unfortunately, you know, and you know, you just have to wait for things to unfold. So
I mean, these horses are treated like kings and queens.
they are.
They get manicures, pedicures, they
It's
get
true.
washed, they get
Massages.
massages by people like you
Absolutely.
massaging them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very lucky animals,
Yeah.
and they enjoy what they're doing. A lot of them as well.
Oh,
They're
absolutely.
happy.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm fortunate because I've been to the backside so many times at Santa Anita Del Mar. My father owned racehorses, so I've been in this industry my whole life.
Yeah.
So I've been to the backside since I was a kid. So I know, you know, the ins and outs and everything.
Mhm.
So, but a lot of people haven't.
Yeah.
And you could tell when they're saying all these things about horses are being treated horrible. It's basically ignorance.
It is.
It's ignorance because they have never seen what goes on at the track. They only see the bad stuff,
Right.
and they amplify that and judge it based on just those isolated situations that, you know, where something tragic happened. And they don't
Exactly.
look at, you know, where is Santa Anita, nobody's even talking about it. And that's another thing.
Yeah.
The way the news circuit is nowadays, and I'm not even saying just horse racing, I'm saying in
Right.
general. The only news that really gets displayed as bad news.
Of course. Yeah, because I mean, they have to play on a narrative. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, you know, I have, you know, as an equine massage therapist, I mean, I have tons of clients, right? I have clients in barrel racing. I have clients in FEI. I have clients in, you know, just about every discipline possible. And one of the conversations that a lot of the barrel racer clients and I have is, you know, they always sit there and they always say, I really feel bad for you, because you get crucified. Because you're in the horse racing industry, you get associated with all of the bad things. And they said, you know, what's kind of ironic is, you know, when you look at barrel racing, you know, barrel racing, they start them at 2, they start them at 1, you know, they start them young and they have them in futurities. And I'm not justifying it, right? But I guess what I'm saying is every industry has its quirks and every industry has its situations. And I think if you're going to be mad at one industry about it, that's fine. But then know that there's other industries doing the same thing. And so why those industries don't get crucified, essentially. I kind of, I think it's, and I've had this conversation with my husband because it bothers me. I mean, people don't understand how well these horses are cared for, how they're brought up. You know, I mean, like myself, we have our brood mares on, or our brood mare on a very specific balanced diet before she's even bred. I mean, from start to finish, our horses are on very, very particular programs, right? We breed them and we grow them to do what they love to do. And so I think, you know, when it comes to these other industries, you know, people look at the horse racing industry and they say, well, you know, they make horses run, they do this, they do that. Again, very hot topic, very big situation that you could go all day talking about, because we understand, you and I know that all the media wants to do is dope to the side that says horse racing's abusive, they let horses die, blah, 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 blah. And that's not the case. It happens, but I mean, you also have horses who die out in a field, right? So, you know, I don't like it. The idea scares me because I'm in it too. I have blood, sweat, and tears in the game, you know? Every time my horse races, I say a prayer, and you know, just, you have to go with it because it's very possible something could happen. But, you know, numbers have gone down, and I think that's a great thing that should be put out there, is that at the end of the day, the number of breakdowns has decreased by a lot. And I think we need to give credit to that.
Well, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
A recent study came out for Santa Anita at the end of the meet. The meet ended about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the fatality rate was almost zero.
Exactly.
Do you know this got absolutely no publication? It wasn't on Channel 5 over here, Channel 4.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the paper.
Yeah.
It got absolutely no buzz,
Yeah.
no attention. And it's
Yeah.
sad because nobody, and just recently, Indiana Downs reported, I think they've had no fatalities the whole meet. And these things just get buried in the sand.
Right.
And nobody sees it. But when
Yeah.
something bad happens, boom.
All over the news.
It's
Yep.
all over the news.
Yep. Yep.
And
I
it's
mean,
really sad. It's
yeah.
depressing.
Exactly. Well, and social media loves to run with it too. And I think, social media can be a blessing and a curse, let's be honest. And, I think at the end of the day, the horse racing industry has to really find a way to promote the good, to try to counter what keeps getting thrown out there on the bad side, right? And I know that there are people who have really started to push that. It's really become a thing, and I think that's great. I think we as an industry really need to do our best to try to say, hey, we know this happens, but we're doing this to help improve it, and we're doing this to make sure it doesn't, right? And this is the good that you don't see. This is the good that you don't have access to. Like you said, you go to the backstretch or the barns and you see all these horses. I mean, hay in front of them all the time, right? They're cared for. They don't have a fly on them. It is absolutely crazy to me. And I just, they live very, very well. And, I wish that there was more publicity on that. Yeah. Yeah.
They live better than most humans, to be
absolutely
honest. It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll come back as a racehorse in my next life. I mean, that wouldn't be so bad.
I'd be in a lot better shape if I came back as a racehorse.
Oh boy, that's a good point. They exercise every day. They they stretch out and And another thing, you just brought this to my attention. These horses, you're right. They don't have a pimple on them. They're shiny. They have veins popping out, and so anybody that would go to the racetrack and see these horses, they don't look mistreated at all. They look like the most healthy specimens you'll ever see. Yeah. And some horses, just like you said with some of your horses. Mm-hmm. I mean, some horses, you'll see them and they'll just take your breath away. Yeah. There was a situation recently with myself, my friend George and Jeff, who are working marketing over at Santa Anita. We were all in the paddock, and we saw a horse from far away, and we're like, "Who is that horse? God, he looks good." I swear we had no idea who the horse was. We had no idea. Mm-hmm. So I walked up to the groom, and then we saw that the saddle cloth said MM. So then I knew it was Michael McCarthy. Oh, yeah. And then I'm like, and he was right there. And I go, "Who is this?" He's like, "Oh, this is just a little colt that I have named Journalism." I swear, I am telling you, there's sometimes you see a horse, and I know you agree with this, Megan. Yeah. You just know this horse is special by the way it looks. Yeah. Well, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of horses. Absolutely. I mean, well, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I swear to you, we stand in the paddock when Whiskey on the Rocks goes around. Obviously, we're the owners. We're there, and I could not tell you. I mean, he's a 17 two-hand monster. This horse, but he walks in and he demands presence. I mean, he's just the kind of horse that you hear people, I love it. I love it when horses are like that. He comes down and people are just, you can hear him talk about him and they're like, "Oh, what number is that?" Or who is that? And, people love his name, but he just has this presence to him. And I mean, and I think I'm a little biased just because he is mine, but we've had several people come up to us, even when he's out in the fields here. People will stop along the road and they'll look at him and they'll be like, "Who is that? What is that horse?" And so we love it. I mean, but you're right. You look at some of these horses and they're just like Fabios of the horse world almost, It's really wild. And they look great.
I mean, some of these programs that these trainers have these horses on are absolutely amazing. And, you know, I've evaluated some programs for some trainers, and I mean, you know, it's, they do well. They do very well. And it's one of the reasons the horses run well. And I think that's a big thing is, you know, I think if nutrition was really on kind of the forefront in some instances where they were really making sure that these horses are on good nutritional programs and they're building them well as youngins, and then they're, you know, racing them under, you know, really good vitamin mineral situations, you know, they can do a lot. They can do a lot. Nutrition does a lot of things for a horse.
I'm not to cut you off, but I know a couple of barns that they have their own system.
Mm-hmm.
They feed them really good.
Mm-hmm.
They break them in a different part of the country where they get to stretch their legs.
Yeah.
And so forth. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because every time I see these horses run, I tell them, I go, they're dappled out.
Mm-hmm.
They're nice and strong looking.
Yeah.
And they tell me it's because of the nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have our mares, the ones that we have on site here. I mean, they dapple out through the winter. You know, again, it's what I do. But I'm a firm believer that nutrition is a very, very, very strong foundation for good, strong racehorses. And it's one of the reasons I got into it. It had always been something I was really interested in. And it's like humans, right? You know, if you're going to sit there and you're going to be running and you're going to be putting yourself through training and you're building up muscle and you're building up stamina, you're not going to be able to go out and eat McDonald's every day. It's just not going to happen. You know, and so you look at some of these horses, and like I said, we have our broodmare on a solid program before she's even, you know, taken to the shed. And we've been really, really fortunate. We've been really blessed to have really solid, strong babies, you know, that inevitably grow up to be very nice, solid horses. So we really pride ourselves in that.
I love earlier, you made me laugh. I was laughing for a whole minute straight while you were talking earlier when you said you might be biased about your colt.
Yeah. I'm honest, you know, I mean, he drives me crazy. You know, he definitely has his quirks and his personality. And, you know, there's times I'm like out there in the field and I'm yelling at him or calling him names or whatever. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I think he's beautiful. I mean, he's a big horse. He's a lot. And, you know, he's going to race number 7. Yeah. What's that?
He's your baby.
He is. I mean, you know, we don't breed very many here. We breed very selectively, and it's quality over quantity for us. You know, and so, you know, I'm very particular. My mare is a 27, 29 race mare. We like to breed to solid, proven studs who have raced many, many, many times. And, you know, I really look for kind of out of the norm breedings, if you will. You know, King was kind of an interesting breeding only because his sire's Gold Rush Dancer, and we were really fortunate to be able to get Gold Rush Dancer in his first year, his freshman sire year, and, you know, threw some beautiful horses and did well for himself at Parks. And, you know, so, you know, we got in on that, and I'm pleased with King. I mean, you know, he's going race number 7 tomorrow. He has not won a race yet, I'll be honest with you. But we also started them later. You know, we start them late, which means that they're not necessarily going through the motions as 1 and 2 year olds as they are as 4 and 5 year olds. And he's improved this year immensely. His first race of the year was a mile. He came in 4th. His second race of the year was a 6 furlong, and he came in 3rd, and he was not far behind the you know, lead at all. So we're really, really happy, you know, with him and the way that our program has gone so far. And it's slow going, but when you breed your own horses, it's a whole different ballgame. It really is. It's a lot harder to do. You know, from literally conception to track, but, we try to do the best we can, and we kind of want to be a different narrative in a way. So
tell us a little bit more about your equine massages.
yeah, I mean, what do you want to know?
Well, I'm sure the people out there want to know what that consists of, what it's like, how it benefits the horses.
Yeah. So, equine massage is very similar to human massage, right? So, it helps with lymphatic drainage. It helps with muscle, tension, tightness, repairing muscle. I also do red light therapy and kinesiology tape. So I use Equitape in my practice, and kinesiology tape on horses, same thing. Proprioception, helping the muscle, blood flow to muscle, helping to relax muscles, activate them. It's kind of the same concept, but you've got to think these horses are athletes. You look at some of these NFL players, and they're getting massages and chiropractic 2-3 times a week, right? Horses are kind of the same way. They're athletes. They need good nutrition. They need good body work. They need good chiropractic work, because alignment and muscle, it's what they run on. It's what makes them. So, I've been really, really fortunate to have a really great client base. I've worked on some really incredible horses, some great race horses. So it's been good. And I have not had a client yet say, "Oh, massage didn't work for me." It benefits a horse in a lot of ways, very similar to humans. And a lot of times too, you'll see some of these Kentucky Derby winners, or, Belmont or Preakness. A lot of these horses get body work too, from what I understand. So, it's something I got into because I had this idea and this concept that if I'm going to race these horses, and I'm going to raise them and have them, granted, they do what they love, but, I have them there. I'm going to make sure that they get the care that they need that benefits them the best. So I got into massage.
Wow. And how long have you been into the massage?
So I started my program when I first went in, it was 2019. So right before COVID, got certified the end of 2019, and then COVID hit. So had to wait a couple years, and then I had a baby. So I started my practice as far as the actual massage went back in 2022, 2023. And then, I've been really, really, really blessed in the fact that I have fantastic clients. I've built a really great client base, and now I basically work full time, and it's one of the foundations of my business. So,
wow,
yeah.
And would you say equine massage is getting more popular now?
Oh, it's hit immensely here. Equine, I think equine massage is really gaining traction. I think it's been around quite a while anyway, but I think now that there's become more of an understanding of its benefits, and you've got more people who are wanting to get into it. You've got, a lot more massage therapists than you did before. I think it's really gained a lot of popularity. In fact, I had somebody ask me to come all the way down to Santa Anita and work on an entire barn down there. And I was like, I can't do it right now. But what's that?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, I might do it. I've had a couple people say, we can't find a good one down here. Can you come down? And I've been like, well, you get me enough horses, I can definitely, look into it. But I think it's really gained a lot of traction because people are understanding the benefits. And I think when race horses aside, you've got barrel racers, you've got FEI horses, dressage horses. Every single one of those horses has some sort of specific stress pattern, or different muscles are utilized at any given time, and those muscles need to be addressed. Otherwise you start with start having these issues of fascial restrictions, muscle knots, things that don't allow a horse to do their job. psoas, I see a lot of psoas issues in horses, and that's a whole different thing we can go down, but it would take forever. But, you have to realize with psoas muscles, which are muscles essentially that help with, hip flexion and everything, you see a lot of issues with that in racehorses because they propel so heavily. And so, it's just, there's a lot of things with massage in really any horse. Even if they're not actively training or racing or whatever, there's benefits to it. Like I said, just like humans, even if you just go and get it done, maintenance wise or monthly, you don't have to be an athlete, but there's always benefits to massage. It's never a bad thing. And I think a lot of people have caught on to that.
Now, this is my personal question about it.
Yeah.
Do the horses respond to it like a human would? Like, ooh, that feels good. Do you get that kind of response from them?
Yeah. So I've actually had
awesome.
a couple horses. I am pretty sure I posted it on my business page. But there's been a couple horses where, they'll do like the downward dog, they'll stretch out their muscles, or you put, the tape on them and they'll sit there and they'll yawn for 5 minutes or so. They love it, and they'll fall asleep. I've had some horses that they'll fall asleep during the massage, and then you'll leave and you'll come back 5-10 minutes later and they'll be laying down and taking a nap. I mean, there's a lot of,
it's good.
Oh, they know. They're not dumb animals. They're like, and I have some horses that as soon as they see me, they're like, let's go, let's do this. It's great. It's a very rewarding, job. I am very, very lucky, that I get to do it and I get to see the benefits of it. And it's really, it's been great. And I've met incredible people because of it. So I can't complain.
That's so cool that
you
mentioned that the horses see you and they know you and they know what's coming when they see you.
Yeah.
Horses recognize people.
They do.
I mean, that's a proven science. Horses, they recognize people, and
they do.
like certain people, they get good vibes from certain people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they get good vibes from you. I get good vibes from you.
Thanks, Gabe. I get good vibes from you too.
And so the horses, they see you and they're like, "Oh wow, I'm going to get a massage." Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I've had clients tell me, they see me walking down the way and they'll start nickering or they'll start whinnying, and I'm like, well, okay, they probably think I'm feeding them, and then they're like, nope, they've already had breakfast. They know, so it's a lot of fun. I'm really blessed. I love it. It's a great job.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and it sounds like you're having a lot of fun owning horses and then massaging horses.
Yeah.
And you also have a baby. How old's your baby now?
My daughter, she's 4.
4?
Yeah.
Where did the time go?
I know, right? Yeah, she's 4. It's been kind of crazy, but it's been nice because I've been able to set my schedule, and she loves horse racing, which is great. And so we've been really, really lucky too that, we go to these races that King's in, or, we just go to the track because we've got a lot of friends and, friends now who will go. And she loves it. So I'm like, we're trying to help promote the next round of horse people over here. So,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
she's growing up, but, she's always loved the horse racing, and I've been really lucky that she's really taken to it and she really enjoys it. And so she goes out and helps me do chores in the morning, and, she plays with the new baby who's twice the size she is. I mean, this foal is massive. And I mean, she has a blast, and I'm so glad that she loves them. So I'm very lucky with that.
And she's already having a connection with the horses, I'm hearing.
She is.
Love it.
What's that?
I was saying, I love it.
Yeah, she, and sometimes, they say little kids, know, and the horses know. And King, ironically, I mean, he's a monster of a horse, and he's so gentle with her. They have been the best of friends since he was a baby.
How cute.
And they're exactly 9 months apart, ironically. And so when she finally got to be big enough that we took her out there and, had him around her and vice versa, I have countless photos of this monstrous animal, absolutely loving on my 2-year-old. Obviously there was, a fence there, but I mean, he's so sweet with her. And then his half sister is also, like I said, a monster, but they're the best of friends. They love each other, and it's so cute.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
God, what a, and I want to commend you. You got horses to take care of, you got a husband, you got a child, you got to work. I don't know how you do it. You're a superwoman.
Thank you. I think when you're in the thick of it, you don't really realize, right? Like you do it, you go through it, and you're like, you enjoy every bit of what you can. And like I said, my husband's been great. He, when I'm working, he watches the little, and then vice versa. And, she's at that age now where she can go out and help do chores and stuff, which has been great. But it's hard, and then I have to fit the gym in there somewhere. So there's that. But I think, and people sit there and they're like, I don't know how you do it. And I think when you're in the middle of it, you just don't realize you're doing it. Right. I had this dream and I had this plan, and I was like, I want to make this happen. I want to, be, a role model for somebody who may think there's no way I can do this. I can't live my dream and do what I want to do and still do all this stuff at the same time. You can. It's a lot of finagling, and it's, I don't get a lot of me time. My husband and I don't get a lot of time to go out and do things. There is some sacrifice in there, but when you look back on it and you see everything you've accomplished, it's worth it. It really is. And we're still really new. We're still in our infancy, I want to say, with the horse breeding and obviously our race horses, but I'm really proud of what we've accomplished so far. So it's a lot of work, but it can be done. It just takes a lot of work. So yeah, but I appreciate your compliment. That's very sweet. I do my best. There are days I don't feel like I'm doing it well, but I do what I can. So
I mean, it seems like you're doing very good, and I'm really happy for you.
thank you.
I want to thank you for being on the show. I know
Absolutely.
we went a lot longer than we expected, but that's how you and I are. We're very,
Yes.
we're very similar in the way we talk and stuff, and we're both passionate about this game. And we're both, in the live and breathe horse racing group, and
Yeah,
I'm starting to see that you live and breathe horse racing, and
I
as
do.
I do. And the horses are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I'm lucky to have you on this show. I'll
Thank
see
you.
you early August
Yes.
at Santa Anita. We'll have a blast. We'll plan something good for you. And,
Great. Thank you so much.
Go and enjoy your life. And
Thank you.
we'll have you on again real soon. Okay, you were wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gabe. It was very nice to be on. I appreciate you having me on today. It was absolutely fantastic and nice to sit and chat with you.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you very much, Maegan.
Thank you, Gabe.
Hey, do you like long shots? I do. Let's hear what Gabe's has to say, and don't forget to check out Live and Breathe Horse Racing Group on Facebook.
What is up? Your boy Track Gabe giving you a long shot. Race 10 this Saturday. Number 7, Illuminaire. I like this one quite a bit. Let me tell you why. This horse is a lightly raced horse, only ran 5 times. Won 3 of those 5 times. The only time this horse is lost is when it came off a layoff, and its last race, where obviously something happened because it followed a very long 6-month layoff. So it has excuses for its 2 bad performances. Now the other 3 performances, 2 of those wins were at this distance, at this track. That's right, 2 for 2 at Saratoga, going the tricky 7 furlongs at Saratoga. Loves the distance, loves the track, plenty of upside with a lightly raced horse, has yet to run as a 4-year-old. Development happens quick with these horses. I like number 7, Illuminaire, to surprise the field and win this Saturday, July 12th at Saratoga. Luis Saez aboard also, my favorite jockey. Here we go with another segment of another thing wrong with horse racing. You know what I'm going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about food and beverage prices at the track. They're sky high. With the upcoming Del Mar meet approaching, I'm reminded of the $20 beers and the $22 margaritas. And this is not something that's going to help bring in more people. It might make the racetrack more money, more margin, but it's not going to bring in more people, and we need to bring in more people. Now, if we had specials, $5 beers, $10 margaritas, every day, not just one day of the week or 2 days of the week. Some people work. They can't make it on a Friday. Why not offer it on a Saturday? There's a lot of bargain hunters out there nowadays, especially with the popularity of the internet. Now you have the internet where people press a button away from finding the new deal in town. Why not make Del Mar the new deal in town? Or Saratoga? Or any track out there that's charging outrageous prices for food and beverage? Why not have dollar beers or $2 beers? Why not have a $2 hot dog or a $5 hamburger? I have a blueprint that I've been writing up, and if I'm commissioner of horse racing one day, which I should be, it's insane that I'm not commissioner. But if I was commissioner of horse racing, I would have this thing fixed in 6 months to a year. I really would. I'd have horse racing popular. I'd have it like the good old days. And I guarantee you I would improve this game. And I have a blueprint ready, willing to go, but nobody cares. I think people are content with their big, big salaries and not wanting to take chances to risk losing salaries and promotions and so forth. And that's fair enough, and that's understandable. But if you want this game to improve, you got to do a lot of different things. $20 beers, $22 margaritas, that's just too much. We should be the game of the deal. If somebody hears that, hey, beers are only $5 over there, that'll probably get them through the door more likely. And they'll be betting, and it'll be a more fun environment as well. Because all you got to do is get them through the door. The horses and everything sells itself. We have a wonderful product with the beautiful, gorgeous horses that are in the paddock and running their hearts out for our entertainment. But what are we going to do with everybody staying at home betting at TVG and FanDuel and Naira bets and all that? What are we going to do? We got to get people at the track. That's where the racetrack people really make their money. They don't make it so much off handle from out of state. If you know the deal, that doesn't make a lot of money. Look at Fawner Park during COVID. They didn't make as ton of money as much money as you think, because most of that money was out of state funds. So I'm telling you, what we got to do with this track is get people in the door. And one of the ways of doing that is to lower the prices of food and beverage or offer spectacular deals that get people in the door. Have every week, every day of the week, have a special, a gimmick that gets people in the door. Because once you get them in the door, they're probably sold. And it's really fun. Everybody I've ever taken to the track wanted to go again another time. Everybody loves the track when you go. So please, This is another thing wrong with horse racing that can be fixed, that can be handled, that can be done. And I'm want to be commissioner of this sport because I love the sport and I want to make this sport thrive like nobody else can. My blueprint's ready if anybody wants to see it. I will improve this game. I try to do as much as I can, just me alone. But I'm a single man army. What more can I do? Thank you for listening to my rant. And we're on with the wonderful Laurie Ross. How are you?
Wonderful. And it is an honor to be on your show, Gabriel.
No, the honor is mine. Now, most people know you from Horse Racing Nation, but you have your hands in a lot of other things as well. Would you mind telling the listeners about that?
Sure. Well, I do a lot of pedigree consultation, people wanting to know about breeding their mares, who should they breed to, stallion profiles. Someone wants to stand a stallion and they want a profile of their stallion and the best mares, sire lines to work with that stallion. And I also do work for the sales, with clients wanting to buy horses from the sales or private purchases or claiming reports, just everything.
Sounds like you're the jack of all trades. A lot of consulting work. That's really good. So, and how long have you been in horse racing?
Oh my. Well, professionally, probably since 2005. But I've been a fan since I was found out that they could actually race horses. And that was probably when I was 5 years old. And that was the end of life as I knew it. Once my uncle, he had the past performances and I'm like, oh, well, what's all this? Naturally inquisitive. And he's like, oh, it's horse racing. And I still remember that day. It just blew my mind. It was like, you mean we can race them? And that was the end of life.
That was, yeah, I could relate to that. Boy, wonderful.
So I
You've been in this game a long time.
Yeah, I followed. Yeah, I followed racing. In fact, if I had paid as much attention to my schoolwork as I did racing, when I was 11 years old, I had binders, 3-ring binders filled with past performances, trip notes, and just everything you can think of. And I was handicapping at the age of 11. And had I paid as much attention to my schoolwork, I probably could have gotten a full ride to Harvard. As it was, my uncle made a lot of money off of me.
Yeah, with that nice fresh brain. Yeah, I need to find a young boy or girl out there that get into horse racing, and that fresh mind. You absorb so much at a young age.
Oh yeah, I mean, at the time, I knew I could name every Kentucky Derby winner. I had a huge book of Kentucky Derby winners and past performances, and I had practically the entire book memorized. So if you'd asked me something about the 1933 Kentucky Derby, I could have sprouted it right back to you. Wow. Now I'm lucky if I remember who won it like 3 years ago.
Who did win it 3 years ago? What
I have no idea.
Was it Country House won in 2020, right? And then
I think so.
Yeah. Disqualified. Right, I think that was 2019.
Yeah.
See, I'm having a problem remembering who won the last 5 years too.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's funny. I could tell you who won in the 90s, who won every Hollywood Gold Cup.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just the short-term memory versus the long-term memory. It's funny that you mentioned that. So, now a lot of people know you, and I know you as well, as a real expert with stallions and sires and breeding and so forth. Were you into that too at a very young age, or did that develop later?
That sort of developed in my teens, when I started seeing horses that I knew go off to stud, the big, the Secretariat and Seattle Slew and such. And then I'd start seeing their babies show up back when this is the caveman era. era when I used to watch the replays from Calder and all the South Florida tracks on my little black and white TV. And I'd see the babies running by Seattle Slew or by whomever. And I'm like, oh, I've got to follow this one. So then I started getting into reading about pedigree. It really wasn't until we got into the computer era, probably in the 90s, that I could really apply it and start reading and studying up. I mean, Lauren Stitch is a mentor. She was really the first person I reached out to her because I loved her articles on DRF. And I think this lady has forgotten more about pedigree handicapping than most people will ever learn. And she really taught me a lot. And another gentleman who everyone knows by the nom de plume, Tinky, taught me quite a bit as well. He spent time answering my foolish questions and criticizing my theories if I couldn't back them up. But he really taught me the importance of checking facts so that when I say something about a stallion or a mare or a pedigree, that I can back it up with facts. And that's what I base my work on, is opinionated fact. So if a sire's offspring does X, and the distaff line and the dam sire's offspring do Y, well, you add those together, chances are pretty good that this baby can or cannot do what this family says it does or should be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think a lot of other pedigree handicappers won't go out on the limb and say this horse can or cannot get that distance, or doesn't have the conformation or the mindset, etc.
Wow. So right now, when you handicap races, how important is the pedigree to you?
Well, my favorites is an entire group of first-time maiden 2-year-olds. That everybody looks at that, and most people will just pass the race. That to me is a treasure trove of research. So pedigree, knowing the precocity of the distaff family, and not only that, but the class of the family. So, for instance, you've got a race, you've got a 2-year-old entered at Saratoga, and you look at the family, and most of them didn't win until their third or fourth start. But more importantly, where did they run? If they were running at Beulah Downs or Finger Lakes or, Tupelo, nothing, or Canterbury, nothing wrong with those tracks, but they are not in the same league as Saratoga. Chances are this baby may not be able to run with the other babies in the field whose siblings raced at Gulfstream, Keeneland, Saratoga, etc. I also look at the dam, her precocity, stallions, first-time starters. So, for instance, if I have a baby by Curlin out of an AP Indy mare, I don't expect that baby to be winning at 5 furlongs in July. But if I see somebody, say by Vacoma out of a Speightstown mare, I would absolutely jump on that. So, and plus works are also very important. How the baby works is more important than what time it did. And that's where video is critical. Is it professional? Is it keeping up with the other horse? Is it switching leads? Is it lugging in? All those are signs of how a baby will perform in a race. Can you hear me?
I was going to mention about workouts.
Oh.
And what a lot of people might not recognize with workouts is you'll have a horse who did 4 furlongs in 48. Now nobody knows exactly how fast they did in the middle of the work and in the end of the work. They don't know if there was a big burst in between. So a lot of people will assume, okay, well, he worked 48, he or she worked 48, so they went 12-second quarters. But there are times where a horse will go 13, and then they'll have a burst of it, like a 10-second quarter or a 10 and 2 quarter, and then they'll go down to 12. And that's something I learned a long time ago as well, that you can't really look at the workout final time. You got to know how they worked out and when they worked out. And then also, there's also the interpretation of clocker error as well. Some clockers may have missed a workout and they've asked the trainer, and the trainer will give them a certain number and so forth. But that's a whole other rabbit hole. So, but I'm glad that you mentioned that, because watching workouts has absolutely helped with me and other people I know. So if anybody's out there, if you could go to XBTV, which is a great place to watch workouts, and other places like YouTube and so forth, watch workouts, and then you'll see that not all workouts are the same. You'll see like a 48 on one horse and a 48 on another horse. One of them superior to the other.
Exactly. Oh, and another place I'd like to mention is KentuckyBred.org/workout-videos. They have videos from Churchill and Keeneland.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to put, after I finish with this video and edit it, I'll put that up there on the screen. If you could repeat that website one more time.
Sure. It is KentuckyBred.org/workout-videos.
Beautiful. That's a website I didn't even know about. And I'm looking forward to going on that website and watching the videos.
Right.
Is that a website that you go on frequently?
Well, if I see that a horse is worked out in Kentucky at either Churchill or Keeneland, it's hit or miss. Sometimes you'll see a work, sometimes you won't. And I'm sure you know about the California website too.
Yeah,
where
Cal Racing.
Yeah, Cal Racing. I use that a lot too, and I absolutely love their head-on feature.
Yes. Head-on gives you a whole different aspect.
Right.
Another thing that I don't know, I just want to mention this. One time, my friend George Milan, she was on the show about a month ago, and he's an avid workout watcher. And one time he was watching a workout of a Baffert horse, and there was this white horse that galloped out that was working right behind the Baffert horse. Wasn't the focus of the workout either. Was just a horse in the background working out, and blew right by the Baffert horse. And I remember my friend George was like, "Who is that horse that blew by the Baffert horse?" So after research and stuff, he looked it up and found out that it was a horse named Touchdown Brown. And when that horse ran the next time, he won for fun at about 3-1, 5-2. And my friend George made a nice lump sum. Let me tell you that.
Oh,
So there's things you could see even in the background of workouts. Other horses that are not even in the workout, or maybe they're catching up with the other horses and stuff. So there's just a lot you could see. So I just want anybody out there to know that that's a good feature. And I'm so glad you mentioned watching workouts compared to just trusting what is, put on the screen and just saying, okay, well, a horse worked 47 and then that's it. So I'm very glad you mentioned that. That's why I have you on here, Laurie, because you're going to give us a lot of good information, a lot of good, deep insight. And I'm glad you have that for us.
You're welcome. One of the things I like to do in my articles is people have always been so generous with their time and teaching me as I've learned and grown, and I've had mentors and people much wiser and many accomplished handicappers teaching me, and I try to pass that on in my articles of what I see, but not only what I see, but why it is important to look for it. And as you said, workouts is just one of those things.
Yeah, it's one of the 100 pieces of the puzzle, and that's why we love it so much. That's why we're so intrigued by it, because there's so many different variables and aspects to it. Now, a question I had for you, I've been meaning to ask you this. This was my personal question, is because I've gotten different opinions on this, and you are a perfect person to ask this to. How important is the dam when it comes to breeding?
Just as important, if not more so, than the sire. And let me tell you why. The dam is often the dam's influence is overlooked or completely ignored.
Yeah.
But there have been studies, only the dam carries mitochondrial DNA. And that they found that provides the stamina and other traits that aren't passed along by the stallion. So when I see a pedigree, I see the sire, I see the dam sire, but I want to know what that female family has done in regards of distance and such. I don't look at the sire for distance, for stamina. I look at the dam. How far will this horse want to go? And I've been ridiculed. I've been told, oh, well, he gets babies that go blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but this staff line is speed oriented. This horse, and not only that, but conformation. People don't look at the conformation of the horse. Here's a good example. We've got American Pharoah. He looks more like his sire than he does his dam. His dam is a chunky, typical Yankee gentleman, chunky sprint type, chestnut. And American Pharoah doesn't look anything like that. He looks more like his sire. His half siblings, or even full siblings on the other hand, his half siblings on the other hand, look like their dam, and their dam sire Yankee gentlemen, and none of them wanted any bit of an inch past 1 1/16 miles. So if you look at something, oh, it's a half to American Pharoah, this horse should get the distance. Well, no, not necessarily. You have to see what the horse looks like, and if you can find a picture of the dam or the distaff line, even better. You can see some horses are throwbacks. They look more like the dam sire than they do the sire. So that's another important clue. Also, the dam and the distaff line also shows the precocity and class traits of the horses. That means, well, for horse players, as I said, first-time starters, it's vital to know if the dam and her siblings won within their first 2 starts and the class of their starts. And with family black type is especially in the immediate family is obvious, but it's more important to know how many siblings won in the class of their races. So, I mean, there's plenty of well-bred babies out there, expensive, can't run a lick, and their siblings are camera shy. Well, my weight isn't given to them. More weight should be given to the runner whose siblings are more successful and they compete at a major track. And I mean by successful, siblings who can't find the wire with a guide dog at Saratoga, yet when it Finger Lakes show a lower class of horse, but they're willing to win. And in the first race or two, that's not always necessary. That's not always a big factor because it's a bunch of babies thrown together and everybody's sorting themselves out. But going into some of these bigger stakes or bigger allowance races, the class sort of sorts itself out, sort of like oil and water.
Yeah. Getting back to something that you were talking about, do you think certain sires develop precocious horses?
Oh, most definitely. It's just in their makeup. I mean, City Zip was a great example. Precocious sires, especially the ones in Florida, and most of those are sprint-oriented types. and their offspring are precocious. You know, if you have a sprint-oriented sire, most of the time you're breeding to a sprint or mile, or even say a milers type sire to a sprint or miler type dam. Sprinters are obviously more precocious than a two-turn horse will be.
Wow. You know, I'm definitely taking notes. I hope everybody out there that's listening, you should be listening to this show with a pen and a paper, or, you know, or if you're more modern, you know, your phone and the notepad, whatever you use on there. But Laurie is dropping some really good knowledge here. And I know a lot of people, I think they overlook pedigree. I know I do too sometimes. Definitely not in maiden races and first time starters where it's kind of all you got. But, you know, sometimes I'm not saying I overlook it a lot, but there's sometimes where, you know.
How TPIX works. It's a very powerful data-driven system developed by Gabe that incorporates over 50 unique angles and performance metrics. It uses a blend of AI, advanced algorithms, and Gabe's own personal proprietary weighting system. Each factor, such as jockey, trainer, multiple speed figures, and 50-plus specialized angles, are analyzed and scored to produce a final number that highlights top contenders and identifies long shots. What sets TPIX apart is its adaptability. Gabe understands that each track behaves differently, and certain angles or statistical trends carry more weight depending on the venue. The system is fine-tuned for these nuances, ensuring that every score reflects the reality of that specific racing environment. Countless hours of research, trial, and refinement have gone into building TPIX before making it public, and the results speak for themselves. Contact Gabe if you want to see how TPIX works for your favorite track.
Most of those are sprint-oriented types, and their offspring are precocious. You know, if you have a sprint-oriented sire, most of the time you're breeding to a sprint or mile, or even say a milers type sire to a sprint or miler type dam. Sprinters are obviously more precocious than a two-turn horse will be.
Wow. You know, I'm definitely taking notes. I hope everybody out there that's listening, you should be listening to this show with a pen and a paper, or, you know, or if you're more modern, you know, your phone and the notepad, whatever you use on there. But Laurie is dropping some really good knowledge here. And I know a lot of people, I think they overlook pedigree. I know I do too sometimes. Definitely not in maiden races and first time starters where it's kind of all you got. But, you know, sometimes I'm not saying I overlook it a lot, but there's sometimes where, you know, I'll miss something. I'll give you a real quick example. There was this horse that won last week at Los Alamitos. And one thing I know about Los Alamitos, there's something about this track. It's a dirt track, but turf horses love it. Turf horses absolutely love Los Alamitos. They all run good. It's a proven angle. And there was this horse that won. I can't remember the sire, but let me just say the horse tried the turf and didn't run good, but had trouble. And then it ran on the dirt a few times and ran okay. But then it ran at Los Alamitos, a dirt track that's akin to turf horses. And let me just say, this horse won and paid $65 to win, 30 to 1. Wow. Leonard Powell was the trainer. And after the race, I looked at the sire and I was like, oh my God, this is a turf sire. And then I looked, the dam was a turf horse. If I would have done some deep research like this, I might have been all over this horse. You know, it's stuff like that a lot of us overlook. We don't think about, we get lazy. And that's why pedigree is so important. And not just in maiden races, but in first time turf starters, turf to sprint, route and sprint, you know, first time. So
No,
That's why I'm so interested in a lot that you have to say, because I catch myself, you know, missing a horse that I should have had if I would have paid more attention to the breeding.
well, thanks by the way for the tip for Lost Sale, because I wasn't aware of that. I don't play that track too often, but
Yeah.
And that's important to have. And there's another thing that Lauren Stitch coined, a phrase called hidden turf. Now you look at the pedigree. I mean, you look at, this is a sire that ran on the dirt, competed on the dirt, but his pedigree was fairly turfy. Lemon Drop Kid is an example. A lot of his babies like turf.
Yeah.
Rock Your World, he's a new sire. He's a first crop sire. He absolutely has the pedigree for turf.
Yeah, totally. Even though he won the San Anita Derby.
Yeah, but his pedigree is turf. He's by Candy Ride, out of, I think, a Giant's Causeway mare or something, Empire Maker mare. And Empire Maker was known to get really good classy turf horses as well. So, he's one I would look at for turf horses as they mature.
Yeah. What are some of the sires that you like right now? About some freshman sires that maybe somebody doesn't know about.
Well, actually, I'm actually all over the first crop stallions right now, because you can pick up some really, really good winners if you're paying attention to the first crop sires of who is going to be precocious, who may develop into a top sire. One, and I don't mean to give them a plug, but I use Equibase's race lens. It's invaluable because you can see the sire's percentage of first-time starters, of win percentage.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the same thing with the dam with their offspring. Instead of having to look up every horse or every pedigree, it's just right there. And it has probably saved me hours and hours of research. And you can do the same thing, first-time starters on turf, mud, what have you. So I used to keep all those stats by hand, and believe me, it would take me an entire day just to update spreadsheets. It was nuts.
Yeah, you're giving me memories of the 20, 30 years ago when we used to, work on things a lot more than we have to now, because now the information's right in front of us where we had to look it up before.
When they went to Polytrack, remember when they did Polytrack out in California, everybody was like, how do you play this? So a good friend of mine, Steve, his name was Steve Thigerson. This guy was a mad genius. His home track was Santa Anita, and he was there for probably 30, 40 years handicapping. He knew that track inside and out. So we're trying to figure out what is the angle here. What do all of these horses have in common? Well, we came up with pedigree. So we started looking. He started keeping a spreadsheet. It was called the PolySire spreadsheet. And at the time, he made it freely available to anybody that was on Dan Illman's blog at the time. And we discovered certain sires' offspring absolutely love Poly, and others forget it. AP Indy was a stallion. I think he got maybe 3 winners out of 20 runners. So, we were ahead of our time with that one, I think.
Well, what else did you find out? Did you how were turf sires on synthetic and
they were hit or miss. Not every turf horse. It's like horses with dirt and mud. Some love mud, others don't like to get their hooves dirty. You don't know really until they do it. And we kind of found that a lot more turf horses did okay on Polly, but they weren't real fond of the what was it now? Pro Ride or Pro Track? I forget.
Well, there was different ones.
Right. But they liked Polly, but they didn't like
Tapeta?
No, they did okay, but I think it was called Pro Ride or something. It was supposed to be more like dirt, and they only had that in briefly. I think it was because of drainage issues. It was a mess.
Yeah. I forgot what that was called too.
Yeah.
Because it just hit. It didn't last long at all.
No, but none of them would run on that. But they seem to do also better on Polly than they did the Tapeta as well, because we kept track of that, and then we kept track of Ellis, and then we tried with Woodbine, and we were just, by that point, we were just like, forget Woodbine.
Oh yeah.
No offense to the Canadians.
Oh no, we love the Canadians over here.
Oh yeah.
Now,
my first introduction though to synthetic tracks was Calder with the old tartan surface. That was the very first synthetic surface, I believe, in the U.S. on a racetrack. And I loved it in the summer when they would ship horses in for the stakes races. This was when the Princess Rooney was a grade 1 at the time. And they had this big day for sprinters, and they'd have a bunch of stakes, and all the big trainers would be shipping in their top sprinters, and people are betting the shippers down to practically even money, and we're cashing in on the local horses because number one, they were acclimated to the heat, and number two, they knew the surface. Where the horses coming in from Saratoga, where the weather is always beautiful in the summer, and their hot is not like Florida heat. There's no way. So these horses are just falling flat from the heat. They can't handle the surface. They can't handle the heat. And meanwhile, the local horses are breezing by them and winning at 15 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1. So that's kind of why I was excited to see the installation of the Poly and the out in California, because I thought, okay, there's got to be a way we can cash in on this.
You know, you just opened my eyes to something right now, Laurie, and I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to open my eyes. That's why I was so excited to have you on.
Oh.
You don't know, seriously, I'm really excited because you're just a wealth of knowledge. You brought up a great point right now of climate. That's another thing we don't necessarily think of, where certain horses aren't used to hot weather and they might not like it. And it's similar to even when basketball players, football players, they go to high elevation like Denver. And that's a major difference, with the, for the altitude and all that. So that's similar because these horses are athletes as well. These are athletes out there. So you're right. The local horses that are more their blood's already adapted and they're acclimated to the weather. Whereas these other horses, they're not used to this 80, 90 degree weather. So that's very interesting that you mentioned that. That's something I'm going to start looking at more and more in the, as something that, because it's something that I kind of disregard, don't even think about. Out of sight, out of mind. If the horse might not, who cares? Or not that who cares, it's just not something I thought of. But now, especially, I don't know if it makes any sense, but Santa Anita, they used to take off, as you know this, the meet used to always started day after Christmas, but then it would end in April, and they'd go to Hollywood Park. Right. Now, I'm not sure if you were aware of this, but Hollywood Park is way more cooler than Santa Anita. Were you aware of that, or?
No, I wasn't. I went by it when it was closed once, but I didn't know the track. I remember handicapping some of the horses there, but I didn't know as much about it as I do Santa Anita and Del Mar.
Well, that's one of the reasons why the horses go back in the time. They would go because Arcadia once Arcadia gets to summertime almost, it's like 80, 90 degrees. So the last 2-3 weeks, or maybe even the last month or so of the new Santa Anita schedule, the horses are sweating. I remember seeing this. I'll give you a perfect example. Hector Barrios had heat exhaustion and had to be taken to the hospital with a jockey at Santa Anita in the second week of June. And I'm not even telling you, I went out in that same heat. I was at the track. I'm pretty much at Santa Anita every day there's a race. But I was there too, and that heat was very uncomfortable. So now that, the horse, they weren't parading the horses either because it was so hot. So they'd go straight from the walking ring straight to the track. So there'd be no paddock. But still, the horses are feeling the heat. They can't escape the heat. So they're running in 90-degree weather, which before they wouldn't have to because at Hollywood Park, the hottest would probably be like 80. It's mostly like 78 because it was by the beach. It was about 5 miles from the beach.
Oh, all right. I wasn't aware of that. I just,
I
know the topography there is a little bit different. I mean,
it's
it
Hollywood
was
Park
an area around that was surrounded by mountains or what, because I can understand that getting a lot of heat because you can't
That's
escape.
Santa Anita.
Right.
Arcadia. And Hollywood Park was a wonderful location. I mean, I know there was crime and so forth, but it was
just
only
like
a mile and a half.
Just like Hialeah.
Yeah. Oh, where they filmed one of the best horse racing movies of all time in Hialeah. What a great movie that was. But getting back to Hollywood Park, Hollywood Park was very it was very close to the airport. It was only a mile and a half away from the airport, where Santa Anita is very far from the airport. So Hollywood Park was a much more convenient place to go for travelers out of country, out of state, out of country, whatever. So it's really sad to see, these racetracks go, like, as you mentioned, Hialeah, home of Let It Ride. That's where they filmed Let It Ride. And other tracks, I hate to see any track disappear. But
Arlington was beautiful.
Oh, I've been to Arlington, actually. I've been to Chicago many times. Been to Hawthorne, not as beautiful. When I went to Hawthorne,
Canterbury, Canterbury is just this little track, but I absolutely loved it because it was small, but the people were friendly. It was just had this almost on a smaller version of probably Saratoga. It was more of a family type oriented track where there were kids running around and just the people were just more open and friendly as opposed to, say, Gulfstream. Like, Gulfstream is a nightmare. I'm sorry to say. It's my home track now, but when they took it from a beautiful family-oriented place where you could have a picnic out by the paddock into this huge retail center area. It's too small. It's just crowded. There's no good pedestrian flow to the track of getting from the paddock out to the track to see the horses. And as a horse player, paddock physical handicapping is a very important part. I don't know how many times I've tossed a horse that I liked on paper because they looked like a shampoo commercial in the paddock. And I've seen a long shot that looked really, really good and played them and have them come in. So
same here.
Yeah. So my basic day was go to the paddock, look at the horses, go watch them warm up, place my bet, and go back down to the rail. And that was like every race.
You're so right. That's one of the things that you can't really tell on TV. I mean, you could do your best, but it's much easier to tell in person how a horse is doing. And I do the paddock observation myself. I'm always in the paddock, especially if it's maidens, babies, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, lightly raced horses. And I want to see, how they look. Now, tell myself and the listeners, how many, what do you look for when you're in the paddock live? What kind of traits and stuff do you look for?
Well, I toss nervous horses, the ones that are acting up a bit. I mean, yeah, there are some that are just always that way. Their traits, like Shackelford was a mess. There's certain horses, but until you learn which ones. With first timers, I love an alert horse. They're looking around, their eyes are bright, they're checking things out, but they're not acting out. They're like, oh wow, what's that over there? Oh,
That's
hey.
my angle, Laurie. Why are you stealing my angle?
Hey, Gabe, you're really an excellent horseman, handicapper. And so, yeah, I'm going to steal every angle I can take.
I mean, no, that's your angle. But no, I tell people
other
look
horses
at the
I
eyes.
look for also is the very, very calm horse that looks like he's like half asleep. He's just taking it, especially if it's a 2-year-old. He's looking around a little bit and it's like the other horses don't phase him.
I swear to God, those horses win all the time, Laurie.
Exactly.
I'm somebody that's in the paddock. I've been in the paddock tens of thousands of times. I'm telling you, I call it the sleepy horse.
Yeah.
The horse that looks like he's kind of asleep. Those horses win all the time. And I've had people tell me that that's not a good thing. And I don't understand because I see them winning all the time.
Exactly. But then on the opposite end of the scale, there is also the horse that looks confident. He's just got that bowed neck. He's not nervous, but he's walking like, I'm in control.
On his toes.
I'm on it, just kind of almost like prancing along. He's got his neck arched. He's like, let's go there. Let's do this. I know who I am. And when I see the horse, if generally a horse like that, if the horse behind him and the horse in front of him are acting out, I'm like, okay, this is a horse to watch, because these horses, 98%, and I'm going to bring up the name Kerry Thomas because I've learned a lot from him in his writing. He knows horse language. 98% of a horse's communication is through body language.
Absolutely.
And other horses see it and they know it. And it's like, it's like, you got a race, you got a couple of nerdy horses in there that really don't know what's going on. And then you got the class jock that walks in. Well, those little nerdy horses are going to be really kind of nervous around the class jock because they know they don't belong in this class. And then there's the indifferent horse who has self-confidence and doesn't really react to the horse on his toes. And those two, the two horses that I watch for.
Yeah. And I really, paddock picking, there's something to it. I know some people say there's nothing to it. It's overrated, but I've seen this happen so many times where I've been in the paddock with a trainer. And I swear to you, this happened to me last week at Los Alamitos. I promise you this happened to me. I am not making this up. I'm not lying. I was next to a trainer named Jorge Parabon, and he said he liked how the 5-horse looked. And I ended up adding that horse in my pick 4s and pick 3s. That horse won and paid $26.
Wow.
And there was another time I was in the paddock with Keith DeSormo, Ken DeSormo's brother.
Right.
He used to bring horses out here. So it wasn't even that long ago, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And he told me the 3 and the 5 looked the best in the paddock. They were both 8-1 and they ran 1-2. I'm not even making this up. I think I posted that even before the race.
Yeah.
There might be proof on that one that I posted that before the race. I'm just telling you, there's certain things you could see. I've done it myself. Laurie has mentioned it also. You could come up with long shots this way too. And
definitely.
Really
I did that a few years ago up at Saratoga. I went up, and it was a race of maidens, and it was a turf race. So these were mostly all first timers, well, some of them had run before. I think it was a mile and a 16th on the turf. So I'm looking, and a friend said, well, who do you like in this? And I'm looking, and I do a little research. I look down to the paddock and look, and I come back, and I'm like, the 8. Oh, well, that's a Mott horse. I'm like, I don't care. It's 8-1. I don't care. It worked. When you see a Bill Mott horse work a bullet last or second to last work on the dirt, entered for the turf. And this horse, I don't remember the name of it, but I think it went on to win a stakes. Very striking horse. It had long white stockings. So I go and I tell a couple of friends, bet this horse. I don't care that he's 8-1 and it's a Bill Mott that never wins first time out. Bet this horse. And this horse ran away from the field. He was just a physical standout in the paddock. And that, that second to last bullet breeze, the pedigree, just everything clicked. And I didn't even see any other horses in that race. It was like, did you ever handicap a race and one horse is just such a standout that you can't even look at the others?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But that to me was just this huge standout. And I think even if I didn't pick anything else the rest of the day, and I may or may not have, I don't remember, that was the one standout that I remember from that trip. And it was like 3 years ago. So.
Wow. I want to touch on something that you mentioned also about looking at the horses, because it's something that I do. It's actually the first thing I do when the horses are close to me and I can see them. And you mentioned it too. You look in their eyes. I think their eyes tell a story. Don't you agree, Laurie?
Absolutely. I look for just, that calm, quiet confidence. I don't like seeing eyes rolling around like.
Exactly. That's the worst. The eyes at the back of their head.
Yeah.
Auto toss.
And burying their heads in the mane of the pony.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, why is this horse burying his head in the mane of the pony? He just does not want to see anything. It's like, where am I going? I don't care. Just, and I
Let's
don't
get this
really.
over with.
Yeah, exactly. But I like, a horse taking things in and just looking around. I mean, that's normal. I don't like seeing blinkers on first-time maidens unless I've seen works where they, where they're getting in or getting out or whatever, because some trainers just throw blinkers on every horse, regardless whether they seem to need it or not, I think. I think and I'm not bad naming and I'm not bad mouthing anybody. I'm not a trainer and I'm not trying to be an armchair trainer. I'm just making an observation. Because the blinkers, horses can see, other than directly in front of them and directly behind them, they can see all around on both sides. They have, terrific vision, and they can tell where the other horses are. They can see them, they can feel them. How far are you from my body, kind of thing? Are you encroaching on my body? Some horses are fine with that, and others absolutely hate it. That's why we see a lot of horses bearing out, turning their heads away. They don't want to be next to another horse. Blinkers sometimes come in handy there. But with a horse that's trying to figure things out, what is this racing thing, and feel the horses around them, blinkers are a real hindrance. It's like, even for a human, if you covered your peripheral vision and you can't see what's going on unless you turn your head, it's a real hindrance.
Yeah.
So that's, unless a horse, I think, really needs blinkers, I kind of hesitate on horses with first-time blinkers going into a race. I want to know what's up with this horse that they seem to think it needs blinkers, kind of thing. And that can be a hint to immaturity. Do I want to bet this horse because it might be immature?
Well, one of the angles I look at, I like blinkers off. I like when they take the blinkers off.
Yeah.
Pretty much any circumstance, especially if they've showed speed and they quit. then that's even better. Or they went longer distance, and they're shortening up, and they take the blinkers off. That's something I like. I mean,
Right.
I like blinkers off a lot better than blinkers on, because you never know how a horse is going to react. The trainers are experimenting. Just like they're trying turf for a horse, or a mile and
Right.
a 16th when the horse might just be a 7 furlong horse. They're seeing what they have under the tank.
Right.
A lot of times with the blinkers. So when you take the blinkers off, that usually tells you the horse did not like the blinkers. It was obvious, and expect a better effort. And
Exactly. And
the
one angle I don't
percentages
like.
approve that.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Things pop into my head and they sort of like
go ahead. I'm all ears.
pops out. Is equipment change before a big race?
Oh yeah.
You've had all this time to experiment. And now you're throwing a horse into a grade 1 and you're playing with the equipment. I mean, that usually doesn't end well.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the young horses, the 2-year-olds, the 3-year-olds. Older horses, they already know what those horses can or can't do. But I'm talking about young horses without established form. I mean, running through their allowance conditions, you didn't think to add or subtract blinkers, but you're going to do it for the grade 1 or the grade 2 or whatever. I question that, and I see that, and that to me is kind of a turnoff, unless, of course, as you stated, they're taking the blinkers off.
Yeah.
But adding blinkers before a big race and the horses and it's first time blinkers, I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a negative for me too.
Yeah.
Definitely negative. Now let's get back to your bread and butter, which is pedigree, progeny, and all that. You were giving us some first time sires that you like. How about some sires in general? Is there some sires that are making you some money right now?
Oh my. I have a confession to make. I do a lot of handicapping, but I rarely bet unless it's a really big race like the Derby or if I'm at the track, because I need to be able to see the horses. I don't, to me, that's like betting blind. I do think though, I like Tis the Law. I mean, he's just, I think he's going to be a good sire. The Coma's turned into a really good sprint sire. I was surprised at how
The
well
Comas are good, man. Those are good, man. Anytime I see a Vacoma,
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, you got to
Yeah.
consider this one.
And I like Twirling Candy for the young. He's a good precocious sire for first time sires and such. At least it has been. I don't know what his stats are, but it has been in my when I bet or I'm picking horses. Oftentimes I see that, and of course, before it happened, I was all over Justify as a turf sire because that's Scat Daddy. As soon as you see a sire by Scat Daddy, it's like Scat Daddy. It's such a shame that he passed so young because his sons are just phenomenal at stud. But I mean, Justify has grade 1 and group 1 winners like everywhere. Every time you turn around, you see. I think he's going to be our next great sire. I really do.
Some say he already is.
Well, he's still young. He's what, 4th crop? So he's only his baby's been running what, 4 years now.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be a really good established sire. Good Magic I like. City of Light I think is pretty underrated. I loved him as a racehorse, and he only stands for like around 35,000, but I mean, he's got fierceness and he has some other quality runners. And I'm talking about horses that are not necessarily graded winners, but just kind of dependable, dependable sires.
My favorite sire is Gun Runner right now.
Oh yeah, well yeah. He's also the leading 5th crop sire, I'm sure. I mean, him Practical Joke. That was a really that one, the 5th crop, the 4th and 5th crop sires with Justify. That was a really strong year. With
Sure was.
Justify and Good Magic and Bolt de Oro, City of Light. I mean, that is probably one of the strongest years I've seen recently. But it's funny how these years, it seems like every other year is fairly strong, and then we kind of have some weak years in between where you might have just maybe one standout sire. But so I'm anxious to see how the first crop does. Quality Road, I think essential quality, excuse me, and Maxfield are really going to be, their babies will be good. I think, well, essential quality was a champion 2-year-old, but he didn't start until September. So I think his babies, you start looking at the end of August, September, October, and that list will change. I think he'll be one of the ones at the top. Nick's Go, I think, will be underrated in Maxfield. And at the lower end of the stud range fee, Tacitus is one to watch. He's Tappet, yeah, but his female family is phenomenal. He's out of Closed Hatches, which was like one of Bill Mott's best mares. So, those are the ones I think will be making some noise a little later in the year.
What are your thoughts on Vino Rosso so far?
Funny story. I absolutely loved him for whatever year that Derby was that he was in. And I thought for sure he would be, a really good sire for that. And, or not a sire, but a runner. And I was disappointed he didn't do so well, but I really thought also that he'd be an excellent sire of distance horses. And he is. But the interesting thing, here's an interesting thing that was observed by a friend that passed along to me. Stallions from Smart Strike line, Smart Strike and Curlin and such, a lot of their babies will get the distance, but not very fast. They will 12 and 24 you to death, but they have one speed. Usually it's maybe a high cruising speed, but it's one speed. They're not going to quicken in the lane, and they will just run you down simply because the other horses are tired. Keen Ice is an example. That horse hardly ever won, but he just kept, grinding away. And that was very typical of the Smart Strike and Curlin type horses. So when I see a sire from that line, I expect their babies will be later developing. They'll run all day. Most of them will run all day, depending on the distaff line, and they will 24 you to death.
All right, one more sire that I think is of good value and has been running some good ones is Omaha Beach. Any thoughts on Omaha Beach?
Omaha Beach is awesome. I liked him. I loved him when he was in the Derby. Unfortunately, he didn't do too well. But he is, he's like one of the top second crop sires or whatever. I mean, his babies can run. I mean, Warfront out of Seeking the Gold, they can run on anything.
Exactly. I love the versatile sires.
Yeah, and he stands for like $35,000. I mean, that's an awesome deal considering.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's the best value in town right now.
Yeah, I mean, considering the win run. Now that we're doing this podcast, I think Spenforth will probably have a license to up his fee. But I mean, he's leading third crop sire, and that's kind of to be expected because he has a little later maturing pedigree. I mean, I don't even remember when he started, I think he didn't even run as a 2-year-old, I don't think. Yes, he did. He made 3 starts, and I think he finished second and third. But it was as a 3-year-old that he really shined. And so for his babies, I think his daughter just won the Schuylerville King Salver. So he, he gets the occasional good 2-year-old out there, but a lot of his babies really, really come into their own as 3 and 4-year-olds.
I talked to Bob Baffert about a month ago, and he told me at the time the horse was unnamed, but he's got an Omaha Beach baby that's going to run at Del Mar this meet in a maiden special weight, and he's really, really excited about it. It's one of his jewels in the barn right now. So next time you see a Omaha Beach horse with Baffert, and it sold for he said all close to $1 million, the horse, because he's got another horse that everybody's talking about that sold for $3 million named Brant. But everybody's known about this horse before he even had a name. I knew about this horse.
Right.
That's a gun runner.
I read about him, and I had to laugh because in the winter I work at Payson Park, and Mr. Brant owns Payson Park, so I had to laugh when I saw that.
Is that who he's named after?
Yes.
Okay, I
believe it. I believe it is.
More information.
That's what it said in the article. So,
okay.
I
don't know where the name came from. I mean,
I forget the article. I don't know if it was on Thoroughbred Daily News or Blood Horse or Pollock. It was one of those sites, I believe. I read it on that explained where he got the name from. So
when there's a horse like that, you understand this more than anybody, Laurie. I'm in the paddock the race before, trying to get the best seat in the house to look at a horse like that.
Right.
You really want to look at a baby like that. But then
those expensive babies are very exciting to see how they'll pan out. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't. But
I know
that's one of the reasons I love maidens, is because it's like unwrapping Christmas presents. Am I going to get that toy I really, really? Is it going to be that toy I really, really liked, or is it going to be socks? I mean, you never know with them, and the potential is just endless. Am I watching a Kentucky Future Triple Crown winner break its maiden? That's the excitement and passion I have for the 2-year-olds.
That's a great way to put it. It's like Christmas presents that are wrapped. You have no idea what's inside them. I'm going to steal that, among other things. I'm going to steal from you.
Feel free.
There was this newbie at the track that he had 1 million questions for me. Real nice guy, and he was kind of doing his own handicapping, but asking me questions while, and it was his angle, and he was like, "Oh, I always look at how much they paid for a horse." I told him that's really not that important, because there is a lot of $500,000 horses that run up the track, and there's a ton of 10,000, 20, 30,000 horses that run real big. So you never know. And anybody who's paid attention to horse racing knows that, I mean, it's something to look at, but it ain't going to tell you anything, because these $60,000 horses will beat these big yearlings every day. You see it every day.
Well, especially the ones that sold for a lot of money at OBS, because they ran a super fast 9.4 or 10 flat or whatever. And then I'm like, oh, okay, let's look at this horse. And then I look at the pedigree and I'm like, why did you spend $1 million on this horse? I mean, maybe it's got something that I didn't see, but the family is like, there might be some black type somewhere in the 3rd generation, but I have
a horse that I could think of right now. I don't know the name. Sorry to interrupt, but there's this horse I could think of, not know the name, but the trainer paid over $1 million for the horse, and just like you said, he had like a 9.4 at the sale, or maybe even faster than that. It was some like astronomical, supernatural number. And let me tell you, this horse never even broke its maiden.
Yeah.
And they paid over $1 million for this horse.
I believe it because they're running these, and I would love to see them do away with that and just let the horse gallop naturally. You'll still get to see the horse. You see its stride and
The
how it
breeding
moves.
wasn't that good. It was not this time by a average dam.
Right.
I mean, why would you pay $1
Right.
million for that? You know, I mean, it was
Because they're awed by the speed,
yeah.
and they don't look. Some of them don't look at anything else, you know,
And that speed didn't
some,
even transfer to the track.
some owners that don't know any better will say, yeah, I want that one because how fast he went, but they don't know that down the road this horse is going to end up with shin problems or this issue or that issue, and it may not make it to
Another
the track
good point.
until their late 3-year-old or 4-year-old season. I would love to see them do away with these forced time works of a furlong, because they're not going to be running a furlong in 9 and flat and a 6 furlong, 7 furlong, a mile and a 16th race. That just doesn't happen. I mean, sure, you might see them going in 21 and change or 20 and change and the really short sprints, but that's all wear and tear on the babies. I mean, I think it's important for a 2-year-old to train and race because the studies have shown that it builds the bones, but not these forced workouts. And then they go to the barn and then they end up being laid up because of, you know, shins or whatever. Or like you said, never even make it to the track.
Or never
Anyway,
win.
enough of my rant on the workouts.
No way. It's something that, I mean, something that needs to be addressed. I mean, I think it's
Well, I
something that a
think
lot of people waste money on.
the Mid-Atlantic tracks, that track, they said, you know, we're just going to gallop and we're not going to do the workouts anymore. And I thought, you know, they got it right. And I'm very interested in seeing how many of those horses that came out of those sales, those 2-year-olds, race and make it to the track and have careers. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2 races and breaking down. I'm talking about, you know, a regular 2 or 3-year-old career as opposed to the ones that work really fast. And did they have a career? And it was it more than 2 or 3 races, you know, and then they develop a pimple on their butt and they're retired. you know, the 2-year-olds that won that grade 1 and at 3, they're not so great, or maybe, you know, they have issues. And then it's like, oh, we're going to retire him and stand him for $50,000 initial fee. And we know there are plenty of those out there. So.
There sure are. Well, you know what, Laurie? It was wonderful having you. We went a lot longer than we expected. You know what? There's so much more I could ask you. We'll save that for another show.
All right.
Boy, you were wonderful, Laurie.
Oh,
I mean, I learned so much. I really
well,
did.
I learned from you likewise. You know, it was a wonderful learning experience. And, you know, I mean, you're hitting it out of the ballpark with all these picks. But what I like about what I think is awesome is you are an all-round handicapper, and you can pick horses and winners no matter the discipline. There are some people who only do well at turf. Me, I'm best at maidens, that kind of thing. But you're fearless. You'll go, you know, give me that 5,000 maiden claimer. I'll pick out a winner.
Hey, sometimes those are the best races. Some of these cheap races, you'll get a really good angle. I mean, you know, one I'll give out an angle right now to you, Laurie, in those cheap races. I'll give out an angle, and it's one of the best. And when I mention it to you, you'll agree with it, guaranteed. When there's a bunch of horses in the race that have already proven they're not very fast, they're professional maidens, and you have that either first-time starter or very lightly raced horse, I like to go with those horses.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's the only thing I can see, because when I see a field of professional maidens and they've all taken turns beating each other, but nobody's actually won, it's like my eyes cross, and I'm like, no, I can't do this.
And these horses, they have trouble passing other horses. It's like they're afraid. They're herd horses.
Yep, and that's where the work by Kerry Thomas came into. He observed this stuff. There are certain horses that are elite athletes. It doesn't matter what class they are. These horses want to win. And then there's the other horses that I call the polite horses, where they let somebody else go first. They always sit a neck behind, half length behind. They will, when they see that elite horse coming, they will actually move out of that horse's path, or away, in or out, away from that horse. It may not be ducking. It just might be shifting their path a little bit to get away out of that horse's sphere, because that horse is a higher level horse.
I mean, sometimes you know what tells you that there's certain horses that want to run, certain horses that don't want to run, is something that happens at a racetrack. Probably, I mean, it probably happens once a day, or maybe once every couple of days. It's when a horse loses a jockey. And then some horses try to win still without that jockey, while others, they go right back to the barn.
Yeah. Here's one. And I'm sorry, I have to tell you this story because
please.
I absolutely loved it. I'm sure you probably remember an old horse named Gander. Old New York white horse, fan favorite. This guy was just like a veteran. I don't know how many times he ran, 30, 40, 50, whatever. But he was such an old pro, and he always gave his best. And I remember he stumped. It was I watched the race on TV. It was some stake race. He stumbled coming out of the gate. Rider just flipped over his head. Gander kept going. Normal. He was normally mid-pack or closer. That's where he sat. He didn't bother any of the other horses. He ran his race. He passed the winner. They couldn't catch him. He trotted back, dodged everyone trying to catch him, and he walked into the winner's circle on his own, waiting to have his picture taken, because he knew he won that race.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, there you go.
And they took his picture.
Why not? That is cute. That's a really cute story.
The trainer of the horse that won, that had the jockey on him, waited. And he says, take the horse's picture. I forget who it was. It was one of the Hall of Fame trainers. He's like, no, that horse, that horse ran his race. Get the horse's picture. He walked in there on his own. And that's what they did. It was the funniest thing.
I heard Zenyatta was expecting to go to the winner's circle when she lost that Breeders' Cup race in 2010.
Oh, yeah, that was heartbreaking.
To go to the winner's circle, yeah.
Oh, well, that's because she's never lost. I mean, of course, this is a routine. And that's another example. If you go and you watch her races, if you watch closely, you'll see the horses that she's passing move very slightly. It's not always observable unless you're looking for it. You'll see the horses around her move slightly away from her. And keep an eye on that. Yeah, keep an eye on that.
I've watched every race of hers at least 50 times.
Yeah. But that happens. And I look for that. I'll watch a race. I'll watch a horse 4 or 5 times sometimes. I'll watch a replay when I'm handicapping. And it takes me forever to handicap because I'm looking at things like that. How is this horse reacting to the horses around it? Or more importantly, how are the other horses reacting to them? You start seeing a horse going up and down in the stretch, it's and not forward. It's thinking about something. It's paying attention to the horse next to it, or something's going on, and the brain is distracted and thinking. So the horse is still moving, but it's more going up and down, and then eventually the brain will click back on and it'll surge forward or back out or what have you.
Or falter.
But I look for that.
No, you're right. Zenyatta get next to horses and they move out of her way. I totally know what you're talking about. I think another thing that some people might not realize is that a lot of horses that Zenyatta beat, they were never the same again.
Yeah.
I think it's because they ran so hard, so fast, and they couldn't beat her. They just could not. I mean, I know one of them was in the, forgive me if I'm mistaken, 09, 08 or 09 Apple Blossom, when she beat Ginger Punch Ginger Punch was like 3 to 5 favorite, Breeders' Cup Distaff winner.
I love Ginger.
Zenyatta blew right by her. Ginger Punch was never the same.
Yeah, and Ginger Brew.
Or Ginger, it was by Ginger Brew?
No, well, it was either Ginger Brew or Ginger Punch. I think Ginger Brew is the one I'm thinking of, but I may be mistaken.
I'm pretty sure it was Ginger Punch. Ginger Brew
Maybe it
was a nice horse too.
Yeah.
I guess Ginger Punch was Ginger Brew, Ginger Punch's sire.
Damn, maybe.
Oh, okay. No, I'm pretty sure it was Ginger Punch because I know Ginger Brew. I think that
Okay.
was a West Coast horse, wasn't it?
I think so.
But yeah,
I just know I know I remember them. I don't necessarily remember what they did, but I remember them.
yeah, exactly. I mean, our brains are filled with like 80,000, 800,000 horses, and
Exactly. I mean, at one time I used to be able to look at a horse and say, I know this horse's pedigree, but now it's like I know the sire of that horse because of what it looks like, and he stamps all of his babies, but
I welcome anybody to look at Zenyatta's records and see the horse that she beat and see what they did after. A lot of them were never the same.
Exactly.
And that makes sense if you think of it just think of it as a human. You're running as hard as you can, as fast as you can, and somebody next to you, if you remember Zenyatta wouldn't even run that hard, and she'd pass them.
Right.
She looked like she was
Secretariat and Sham. I mean,
there you go.
It's just and affirmed an alley.
Unlucky Sham, huh? The most unlucky horse ever.
And something? My little self was reading so hard for Sham. I did not like Secretariat because he was just this big, muscular horse, and Sham was this dark, really lean, old-style thoroughbred. And I would have loved to have seen him on turf eventually. I bet he would have done really, really well. And I like that long, lean look on a horse rather than the bulky, muscular type. And that goes back to being a kid. I don't know why. It's just a personal preference. And
we all have preferences.
I was just rooting for poor Sham that entire way. And I'm like, and everybody's, are you kidding me? Secretariat's so great. And I'm like, but Sham's really, really good. He just hasn't had a good chance. It's like, this happened or that happened. And,
it shows you the timing is everything.
Yeah.
If Sham was born a year before, a year after, we'd be
I
talking
don't know about
Sham
the year before because Riva Ridge was really good too. He was very underrated.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Maybe 2 years ago, or
the
or
year
one of those
after,
little windows where there wasn't a major champion.
74, maybe.
Yeah, because I think between 74 and 77, right?
Right.
And
77 Slew.
We got Slew and Affirmed and Spectacular Bid.
That was 80. Yeah, we were really, we didn't realize how fortunate and spoiled we were to have all those Triple Crown winners in that small window.
I know. Boy, the 70s, all those horses were mine.
Yeah.
And you know what? Spectacular Bid was a worthy horse to win the Triple Crown. I mean, he didn't win the Triple Crown, but he was good enough to win it.
Right.
And even a Shoemaker to this day, or what? Not to this day, sorry, but when he was still alive, said that was the best horse he ever rode.
Yeah,
and he rode all the good ones.
I loved the horse. I wasn't fond of Bud Delp and his attitude. He was like a sore winner kind of guy, but he was just an outspoken guy. Looking back now, I see that hey, he had every right to be that forward about his horse. It's like kind of like Rick Dutrow, he's outspoken about his horses and he's not apologetic about it. And some people like him for that and other people don't,
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I appreciate some people who are transparent like that. I mean, blunt and outspoken, but also you want to be, kind as well.
True.
So I see what you mean. But you know what, Laurie? Thank you so much. We're going to do this again very soon.
I would love to
rewatch this again with a paper and pen and get some notes down.
A lot of editing.
No, there's going to be no editing, actually.
Oh no, please do.
What is there to edit?
There's just fillers or
There's no
whatever.
fillers. You were wonderful. You're like the best. Wonderful. You should be on television every day.
Oh, well, that's sweet.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lori. I'll let you get back to whatever
Okay.
else you
You
got going
too.
today.
You
And
too. You go do your
we'll,
thing, and uh,
we'll watch
reconnect.
this
Yeah, we'll
tonight.
reconnect and see how it goes, and maybe the Kentucky right around Kentucky Derby time would be awesome too, because
Oh yeah.
I have researched the Kentucky Derby upside down, sideways, every angle you can imagine, and I don't know how many spreadsheets of stuff, female families,
Amazing.
when did they break their maiden, just you name it, about Kentucky Derby. And that is 2-year-olds to the Kentucky Derby or the Triple Crown is my major focus.
Love
So
it.
I would love to come on and discuss that.
Oh, I can't wait. That will be wonderful. Thank you so much, Lori.
Well, thank you. You too.
All right, this is Gary Goldberg. I am a retired teacher out of LAUSD, been teaching for 57 years. Now I'm playing horses because I'm retired. And all I can tell you is I can recall taking kids to the backstretch at Hollywood Park. They fed the horses, they learned about the horses, and now I know I've met Mr. Gabe, a fantastic handicapper. Please listen to his late horse picks. That's all I can say for Mr. Gabe.
Hey, are you ready? Are you ready? Gabe's best bet is coming up.
What's up? My best bet of the week comes at Saratoga. Race 4, number 4, Sitka. 3-1 morning line. Irad gets on. This horse has a big T-Pix ranking of 138. This horse is dropping in class, has the speed of the speed. Irad gets on. I think it's all systems go. They're dropping to win. You got speed. Speed's been winning. Irad's riding in a cheap race. And I think this horse's figures, the figures that I look at, have this horse as a dominant winner. And my T-Pix rankings really thinks this horse is going to win. So all systems go. Number 4, Saratoga. Race 4, Sitka. 3-1 morning line. Let's make that money.
Have any interest, but I actually know Katie Davis, and I went to high school with Trevor McCarthy. He actually got me into the game. Actually, that's a fun story.
Really? Tell us about that since we're on the air now.
Oh, okay.
Hey, what's up? This is Jessica Gilardi. Is that the best way to pronounce your name?
Yes.
And tell us more about your background before we get into that story.
So I was born and raised in Delaware. I went to University of Delaware. I graduated from college after. Actually, I went to Saratoga for my first time, and I kind of caught the bug there. And then I ended up adopting my own horse and going to University of Delaware for equine management. And then after graduating college, and rehabbing my horse, who was off the track, I just wanted to learn more about the breed and horses. And so I ended up going for the Kentucky Equine Management internship. And I did both sessions of that. Unfortunately, it was during COVID, so I didn't really get many of the benefits of it in terms of getting to go to the Derby and the Breeders' Cup. I didn't get to do that. But I know I'll get there one day.
Yeah, tell us more about that internship and how people could join it and all that.
Okay, so it's I don't know if it's changed, but it's 6 months and 6 months. It's like half a year. So you have 6 months of the breeding season, and that is like starting in January. And basically, it's very hands-on with all the breeding. I mean, you're in the barns every day. You're there for the vet work, palping mares, like watching everything the vets are doing. You're in charge of feeding the mares, taking them in and out, making sure they're not colicking or, I mean, anything out of the ordinary. You're in charge of taking their temperatures and just everyday stuff, but it's actually very important, especially with brood mares and stuff, because the smallest changes can actually make a big difference to be able to catch that stuff early. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, it's there's a lot to it. Um, but the other half of the session, oh, and in that session you get to go to like the stallion breeding shed with some mares. Like you get to jump on a trailer and go with the mares, and then even if there's any kind of an emergency foaling or anything, because foals are born in the beginning of the year, obviously, you get to jump on the trailer and go with them. So I've got to be there for several C-sections on babies and pretty cool stuff. Yeah. But then the second session is sales and yearling sales prep, and also breaking yearlings, depending on what farm you end up on. But yeah, so you spend 6 months on a farm in either sessions, and there's people from all over the world, honestly, that can apply. Um,
Did that internship help you get where you're at now?
oh, without a doubt, yeah. So my first session, the breeding session, I was actually at Hillendale. And then after that, I did my yearling sales prep and breaking at Pin Oak Stud. And actually, that was when Pin Oak Stud was kind of ending, the original Pin Oak Stud with Josephine Abercrombie. So I was able to help prep all those horses for the dispersal sale. Um, and I worked for Clifford Berry, who has now gone out on his own, and I'm now working for him at his farm, managing his own little thing. But between that, I worked for Brad Cox and Grand Motion on the racetrack just to get the full circle while I was young, because it was not, I mean, I lived out of my car at Saratoga, so it was fun. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, such an experience. The stuff we do for horses is pretty crazy. Um, but then I came back for Clifford, and he has a lot of the same mares that he had before, so I got to work with them multiple times, and it's been pretty cool because you really connect with the horses. Like one of the mares, we get to sell her last foal because she passed last year. It was kind of, it was hard, but it's horses. Um, and we sell her last foal this yearling sale season, so it's a little emotional, I guess, but it's fun because I prepped 5 of her fillies. Um, I think no, 4 fillies and 1 colt. So it's every year is a new year, and you get to see the next kid shine. You really
What
do.
what is prepping for the listeners out there? What does prepping consist of?
So sales prepping is basically taking a yearling from, it depends on the farm and where they come from, but usually it's that transition where they start going into work for the first time. The babies are starting to, have a stronger routine. They're getting fed a little bit more, they're exercising either their mind or body more, just depends. And they're really starting to get pushed towards that racing mentality just by getting into a stronger routine, getting more hands on with the grooms, and they definitely start developing into a racehorse. Just their mindset alone. It's all groundwork. We don't ride them or anything up until the yearling sale. Nobody rides anything. They're still growing. So for the sales, a big thing you always got to watch out for X-rays. You got to constantly be thinking about that nutritionally. We're watching their weight. We weigh them every week from the day they're born, to watch consistent growth or not. And if they have a little setback, we try and get them back pretty quickly, because that stuff matters. It's the same as racing. You want to get them to bounce back pretty quick, and you want stress on their life to be as low as possible at all times so they can take to the next level pretty easily.
Wow. And have you ever dealt with a horse from conception to where they have almost raced, or?
Yeah, so there's one filly, Truly Grateful, that I started working with her during my first session after signing on with Pin Oak. Um, and so I knew her as a weanling. And then I got to sales prep her for the yearling sale. And it was really, really cool because Clifford Berry actually bought her back. And I got to bring her home from the sale after prepping her. And then I ended up leaving Pin Oak for a bit, and I for about a year and worked elsewhere. And then when I came back, she was just racing. So we all got to watch her racing together and everything because now she was owned by, well, not Brookfield stud, Elizabeth Berry, which is his wife, but we're all Brookfield stud. It's a big family. It's a lot of fun. We all do it together and we all love it. I mean, it's definitely a teamwork effort. But yeah, I'm doing stalls every day. I mean, but that's the best way you can get to know the horses. Like it really is. It's just by touching them and being with them and learn and that stuff like transitions to what you see in a paddock and stuff. You get to learn their behavior from day one. And you get to learn, like when I say sales prepping, um something we do is take them to the swimming pool, and we do it more for the mental aspect of it. We want them to learn to get away from their buddies because we only have 4 fillies, so it's a really small herd, and therefore they get really attached to each other. And so it's just kind of an opportunity for us to start separating them one by one and two by two, taking them off the farm together and swimming. And then that way it's much easier when we drop them off for the September sale. It's a little bit, they think they're just going on a field trip. But yeah, speaking of, yeah, then I went and I got to see Truly Grateful back on the track racing, and we got to cheer her on, and then we brought her home and we bred her to American Pharoah. It's pretty cool. It's full circle. And watching their personality develop, and then once they get into that racing mode and then come back off of it, it's a cool transition watching them through everything. And they're all different, just like anything else.
Yeah, they have different personalities, different quirks, and all that. Uh,
Yeah.
Now, tell us. It's like you were mentioning just a minute ago. You have now you've been around horses. You've been so close to horses, taking care of them. It's given you a new found um, way of looking at horses. So now, when you're in the paddock, what is it that you look for different now that you didn't before?
So actually, one thing I really like to do is I always try and pull a kid aside or something, and I like to see from a kid's eye is what I'm always thinking. I always like the kids to look and think about themselves on game day. How are they feeling? What are they doing? Are they bopping and just full of movement, but not too much? Are they excited, but not too excited? Or are they overworked and it's just not their day? Um, you really look for what a kid would feel like on a game day. They're so relaxed and floppy. The ears, you want the ears to be pretty floppy. I love looking at that. Some people like them pricked. I mean, I really like them when I see my babies in the fields running and stuff, and they're so relaxed, their ears just flop usually. Like they're just so relaxed, and you want to see them when they're bouncing around. But when one of the big things I always look for is when they leave that pony, you want those ears pricked. Like you want them pretty ready. You want them game ready. You want them to know what's going on. It's time. And that's one thing we try and you kind of try and coach them to that point. You really do throughout their entire life towards that big moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're constantly rewarding them. It's like a dog. You just reward them for good behavior all the time.
It's interesting that you say that because the majority of horses now that are running, they're 2, 3, 4. Some
Mhm.
are 5, and then there's very few, that are 6 or older. I'm talking about the ratio of horses that are running. So you're right. These are kids that are running out there. They're still babies at age 3.
They
These
are, they are.
Yeah, they're still, haven't fully matured and so
Mhm.
forth. So you're very right about that, seeing it through a kid's eyes. And
Mhm.
I've seen it before. where I've been in the paddock with kids, and they see a horse they like, and they see
Mm-hmm.
something, and the horse will end up winning, and sometimes be a long shot. So I know what you're
Always.
seeing. I think kids have some kind of intuition about, and I
E-
think it's due to like their age compared to
Exactly.
the horse. Yeah,
Yes. Exactly. Just like the horses. I mean, I want to tie that together as much as I can because a young horse and a young kid are so much the same. Like I always say, I'm a teacher. I'm a private school teacher, honestly. Like I
you
have
are.
4 students and I teach them through their whole life. And I trust their moms to help me when it's their time. And when they get weaned, it's up to me. Like they look up to me now. And it is different. They don't test you the same when after they get weaned. They kind of grow up a little bit, and then you kind of coach them along through that, and you introduce them to work, and it's just like a kid. It really, and it's before, as they enter the new stages and new pressures, it's just like a kid. They're starting to get influenced by more things, and you want them to be able to remain calm and the same throughout. Just like you want them, how they always say before race day, you want them to sleep well and be well rested. We encourage that. I'll pick their feet when they're laying down. I'll feel their legs at another time throughout the day. Like if they're laying down, I'm not gonna make them get up just so I can pick their feet. No, relax. It's your relaxing time. But now that it's yearling prep time, they know it's not nap time until they get groomed off in the morning. And they get it. Like they enjoy it. They relax. They feel pretty. They're Barbie dolls. This is the first time in their life they're being handled this much. I mean, my fillies adore it. They really do. They love it. They're prima donnas.
They're getting pampered every day by
Oh
you.
yeah. Oh yeah. They love it. We listen to our music and they love it.
Oh yeah, I've seen horses dance to music before.
Oh, they do, without a doubt.
Yeah, they're very very interesting creatures. Is
Hmm.
there any other paddock observations that you look at? I mean, how about a horse that looks too relaxed? Is that something you don't like, or
Yes and no. I learned a lot from the racetrack when I was working with Grand Motion, and that was one thing I really looked at. And even to be honest, the difference between a turf horse and a dirt horse in the paddock is different. They look different, they
way
act different,
different? Yes,
way different. I mean,
absolutely.
I got to work for Brad Cox where it's dirt, and then you work for Grand Motion and it's all turf, and of course, they're sprinkled in, but there's a difference. But anyway, yeah, so too relaxed could be a bad thing because they could just be a good galloper. I mean, but sometimes no, the more relaxed, the better. You
I
want
was
them
going to
to
say,
contain that energy. They're your buddy. If you have a good person on that shank, that's your buddy. Like you show up to race day together. This is your day together. That's why a lot of times the groom matters so much.
oh, the groom is very important.
If the groom's not there, the horse might not show up. I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it too. And well, one of the things I check for in the paddock, well, the reason why I asked you about that is because some people have different opinions, and you have an expert opinion. So I wanted to ask you, is because many times I've seen horses, I call it the sleepy look, where they look like
Yes.
they're almost asleep in the paddock.
Yes.
I've seen those horses win a lot of times, Jessica.
Mhm.
I've seen those horses win. Whenever I see that now, I used to think of it as a bad thing, but
No.
now after I've been beaten by it and seen it for
Uh-huh.
years and years and years, now it's a good thing to me. I think, being super relaxed might be okay. And then, but you never know. And then sometimes, these horses are weird creatures because you'll see the most nervous horse. They're
Yeah.
sweaty, they're going crazy, and then they end up winning by 5 lengths.
Yes.
Sometimes that'll
Yes.
happen too. So you never know. There's never a perfect science for it,
No,
but
there's not. Of course
there's
not.
definitely like a good way to look at it. How about horses with a bowed neck that are kind of dancing? You like those kind of
I
horses?
do. I do. So I've actually been on the end of the shank on several stakes races with a horse, and on those races, you don't want to be holding them back because then they're exerting too much energy, but you want like trying to say, like a good like stern arm with them. You want them to be like bowed neck going into the like into the, well, you always
Yeah.
use a lip chain, but you want them to go into that, and you want them. It's good when they're doing that and they're going side to side, because they like don't know, they don't want to go forward because they know not to exert their energy forward yet, so they kind of get antsy and want to go to the sides. It's incredible how much power you feel on the end of the shank on a horse walking, especially through Saratoga. The Saratoga paddock on race day, it's the craziest feeling. But you just watch the way the handler's holding that horse, and the energy going into their hand. You don't want the groom to be doing too much, and you don't want them to do too little. You don't want them dragging the horse either. You want good energy going into that. It's just the same as the rider. You know, when the rider finally asks them to pick it up, you want them to hurry up and grab a hold of it. It's the same thing.
Very much so. And that is something. I watched a race with a nice lady. Her name is Diane Abrams,
Mhm.
and she was the widow of Barry Abrams, who was a trainer out here in Southern California. And she was showing me some stuff when um, horses are on the track getting ready to run and they're galloping and stuff. And then she says certain jockeys, usually a more experienced jockey, knows what to do with a horse that's like galloping too fast. And
Yes.
she saw a jockey pulling the horse really hard. And similar to what you said, sometimes that's going to not be beneficial to the horse. If
No.
you're pulling the horse, trying to stop it too much, you got to let him go a little bit.
Exactly. You don't want to pull, and it's experience. That's why I loved being a groom for so long. So because you develop a lighter hand, but you're able to read and control that energy. You want that horses learn from pressure and release. So you want a quick, like stern movement, and them just to respect it. You don't want to yank on them, then you're going to piss them off. I mean, it's just like a kid. You want to grab a kid's arm, or do you just want to, like, a good, come on, let's go. Like, you just want a quick wake up call, You just,
Even as a gambler, a lot of us gamblers, people that bet the horses, when you ever see a jockey like really yanking a horse early
oh,
in a race, middle of the race, it seems like those horses never win.
mm-mm. They wear them out because they're fighting. And it is a fight. And I'm not going to lie, some days I'll fight with my horses, and I don't mean it. It's just because you're putting two fillies together on a bad day. And it happens. I mean, we knock heads all the time. And and we fought like we fight the mares and the yearlings, and it's the same thing. You piss them off or they piss you off, and they know how to piss you off, so they're gonna do it. And the same thing with the jockeys, like they're trying to take control so much over that horse, and the horse is gonna do exactly the opposite of what you're asking them to do because they're pissed off, especially fillies. You can't piss off a filly, you cannot.
It's pretty eerie how you're saying, echoing the same sentiments as the lady I was watching the races with at Santa Anita a few weeks ago. She said the
Oh,
same exact thing. So it's like, you guys have been, she was around horses her whole life too.
yeah.
So both of you guys know horses energy. And I think you nailed it. And I think a lot of people out there should hear what you're saying. You said two words, and it kept, it, it's something that I really liked. You said control the horse's energy.
Hmm.
That is big. You're controlling the horse's energy.
Hmm.
Now think about that for a second. As bettors out there, or even people that are fans of horse racing, the jockeys are controlling the energy. Now at first, it's you guys that are
Hmm.
controlling the horse's energy.
Correct.
Off the track, you, Jessica, you're controlling the horse's energy. But
Yeah.
then it's out of your hands, and then it's in either the groom's hands and the people and so forth. The trainer also is probably saddling the horse and
Hmm.
controlling the energy there. And then
Hmm.
it's the jockey's job to control the energy. So it's very interesting that you mentioned that, controlling the energy. That's a very good way of
It's a
putting it.
language. It really is
It's
a
a language.
language.
So you have a part of controlling the energy too, Jessica. That's what I'm saying. You're a big part of that.
For
But
sure.
when it's on the racetrack, the jockey is in charge of controlling the energy.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's true. And if you mess with the horse's energy in a negative way, the horse might not respond to you. And we know this, everybody knows this. Anybody who's been in horse racing rather than a few days, rather than 50 years, will tell you certain horses respond to certain jockeys.
Yep, without a doubt. It's those hands. It's all in those hands.
It's all in the hands of them. There was a rider named Shoemaker. They said he had the best hands of all time. He was all in the hands. And he even said it was all in the hands. And if you look at these jockeys' hands, they're huge compared to the rest of their body. They got big, strong hands.
They do.
And they're very strong, too. I mean, they might be 5'2", 112 pounds, whatever, 120 pounds. But they're very strong, muscular.
Extremely.
They're athletes, just like the horses are. Just imagine you're having to control an 1,100 pound, 1,200 pound horse while you're on your knees bending. I mean, that just takes some supernatural strength that most, like 99% of the world would just falter if they had to do that.
Yeah, no, it takes a lot of time to learn it too. Because you always have to be thinking about. I mean, but you're also working, so it's kind of like your brain turns on and off. Somebody could come walking by and distract you, and it's just there's so much to that energy. And from day one, the minute they come out of mama, like it starts. I mean, we're interacting with them pretty soon. They're picking their feet day 2. They're learning how to pick feet from one side. So from day 1, we teach them a universal language. And the groom, from foaling all the way until racing, it's a different person, but it's all the same language. So you always do everything from the same side of the horse. You saddle from the same side. And so when you're breaking them as a yearling, they're all doing it the same way too. So it's not like the horse has to learn. Racing barns, when you walk through them, they're very uniform, very, very uniform in terms of every way they do it. I mean, the way the groom does everything, they have 4 bandages they roll up. Everything is so uniform, and it's particular to that horse. And the horse learns from such a young age the etiquette. They know not to kick. Yes, they can always kick, and they do. You piss them off, same thing. But you can pick fights with horses, and it's in the hands. Like, you can see people being aggressive, or you can see people being really, really patient. If a man wants to get a lot out of a female, you gotta use soft hand. Like, it's all in the energy of your hands. It really is.
It really is. And what you're telling me is these horses are creatures of habit.
Yeah. Yes, we are too. That's why I love my job. Yeah. Very much so.
You are a teacher, because think about it, being a teacher, you have all those kids around you. They're acting up. They're immature.
Exactly.
So you're always having to look behind your back. You're going to have eyes in the back of your head. And I've always said women are better than men at that. I mean, I'm not trying to be men versus women here, but women are very good because you guys have that motherly instinct of, every mom I've seen, my mom, other moms, it's like, you guys can see what I'm doing and you're not even looking at me.
Yeah,
like, stop that. Don't do that. I'm like, wait a moment. How do you see
it?
what I'm doing?
You just feel it.
You guys just feel it. You have that intuition. And that's how it is. Like, and I've been friends with teachers who have had kids, and it sounds very similar to your job. You're saying that you are a teacher. You're having to control these horses and, make sure they don't hurt themselves because they are very clumsy animals, especially at a young age, right?
Yeah, really. And you've got to kind of coach them through that too. And every night you turn them out in a paddock, anything can happen. It's.
I know. I always fear that too. I know you don't want to think of the worst, but it happens.
It does.
I mean, it can happen to anybody. I mean, we could get hit walking across the street, but I always think about, something that could happen in the middle of the night, these poor horses, but nonetheless, you are a teacher, and
I am.
You have a lot of different titles, in my opinion, but I think teacher is one of them, because you are teaching these horses. And another thing that caught my attention that you said was that you these horses kind of depend on you for
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. Like, what are they depending on you for?
So, because I've worked with them every single day, especially the mares, like from foalings from a while ago, like they're depending on you to know when they're gonna fall. I mean, they are counting on you because they're in such a strict routine, and it sounds crazy, but these mares, there's a certain amount of want of you that you're essentially also a nurse. So there's a point where they kind of throughout their pregnancy they get more hormonal, and then they get to the point where they get so lovey, like extremely lovey, and then you know it's going to be time. And they let you know, and each mare has a different way of letting you know, and every year it's the same way. And funny thing is, like it usually happens at the same time. And this is the pleasure of me working with the same mares for this long. I get to follow these things. You know, some mares are in foal for 335 days. We've had a mare that's now done that 3 times, while we have a mare that goes 365 days. Like, they're so
Wow.
different, but the same. So they're different systems. So again, it's being a teacher and a manager and it's all the same. They're a system and they're all different, and their kids usually follow the same stuff, especially the females. They take after mom in so much of what they do, up until where they pee and poop in their stall. They take up from mom. How their mom does it is how they do it when they get weaned. Like it's pretty incredible what I get to be able to see day to day. As boring as my life may sound.
No, it sounds wonderful.
But you get to be excited with them. Like, you know, foaling season, you get to learn your new mares and you get them in foal, and it's fun.
And then, now, what time? What are your hours usually?
So, yeah, it's always changing depending on the season, but without a doubt, it's usually like 7 to 4. Um,
Well, okay.
but of course it's never, and you have a long lunch and stuff, and at the racetrack, you usually don't get any days off. On the farms, you get a day off a week, which is really nice. Yeah, it's really nice.
As I mentioned before to anybody, I've mentioned this many times, and that's why what you just mentioned brought this to my attention again. Is the backstretch has thousands of employees,
Mhm.
Such as yourself and many others,
Mhm.
and people don't realize that. And these are a lot of people that you don't really get to see that often.
Mm-mm.
Most people won't see them because they're not in the paddock, they're not in the walking ring and so forth. So when there's talk about, getting rid of horse racing, or,
Mhm.
well, you don't have that much over there in Kentucky, Jessica, but over here in California, we get a lot of that. We get PETA protesting out
Oh
here a lot.
yeah.
Like when I go to Del Mar in a couple of weeks on Saturday, there will be probably 40 to 50 PETA people with signs in their hands
Oh my
saying in
goodness.
horse racing. They're going to show you pictures of horses with legs dangling, horses that are dead on the track that have died 5-6 years ago.
What?
It's really, really horrible. They want to end horse racing immediately. And I tell these people every time, I go, so you want thousands of people to lose their jobs immediately? You want their livelihood to be changed? Because every one of these horses is taken care of by a good amount of people. And there's
Mhm.
exercise jockeys. There's
Mhm.
there's grooms. There's hot walkers.
Mhm.
There's assistant trainers. There's so many people in the background that we don't get to see, such as
Mhm.
yourself. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm glad I have you on out here, because now people get to see you're there between 7 and 4. So
Yeah.
mostly during while the races are on,
Yeah. I
while
don't
the
get.
races
Yeah.
are going on. Exactly. So you're working and hustling, doing your thing, while
Yep.
everybody else is betting and joining, enjoying the racing.
It's you give and take.
So,
Yeah, it sucks sometimes.
well, yeah, but then again, I mean, give or take, but then you get to see the beautiful stuff that and you get to learn. And You've obviously
yeah.
learned a lot. You're so knowledgeable with horses. I mean, it's insane some of the stuff you're telling me. It just goes over my head.
Oh.
But
No, it's been a huge learning opportunity. It's a journey. Every horse that you're with is a different journey. It's just like a kid. I mean, it's all so. And the coolest part, I don't know, maybe I'm head broodmare. I don't know. But the coolest part is, number one, they all depend on you. But number two, like, it's your buddy. You want to cheer your buddy on. It's the coolest thing when we send them off to the yearling sale. Well, that's not cool. It's kind of sad, but you feel good. They feel pretty. They're excited to go somewhere, and you feel good. You know what's about to happen. You can see their future just like a parent can see a kid's future, and you know they're gonna do well. And it's just the same. Like you go and you see them. I'll see one. Actually, a whole bunch of my 2-year-olds right now are at Churchill breezing, and it's pretty cool because I could just go to Churchill and go into each one of the barns and see them, and I hadn't seen them since yearlings, and they're like, "Oh, look at you!" Because like, I have a different barn name for them. Then once we sell them, they get named. So I have no say over what they're going to be named, but I always call them something totally different, and each of them has their own barn name, and I'll go up to them and. It's pretty fun. I'll give them peppermints. We teach all the babies how to eat peppermints so that time for racing, they'll enjoy peppermints. Because there are a lot of racehorses that don't even know what a peppermint is because they've never had one. And they're so routine.
Really?
If it's not part of their routine, they're not going to take it. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought all horses get the peppermints.
No. I mean, I would love them all to. You can coach them into it. You can say, "Come on, it's all right," and you can get them to eat it. But no, most of them don't.
Wow. You know what, Jessica? You were wonderful. Wonderful information from you. I need you on the show again.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to join Live and Breathe Horse Racing Group on Facebook. We have over 9,000 members. Join now.
Phone blowing up, they all want the pics, but VIPs know that Track Gabe's the fix. Other shows, static, this one automatic. We're cashing in motion, call it racetrack magic.